Meanings of the Quran Volume 1. Surah 2 verse 8 to 20. By Allama Ghulam Ahmed Parwez. Translated in English by Dr. Ejaz Rasool. Audiobook made by Abid Hussain. For Chapter 4, Munafiqeen, Hypocrites. Verses 2:8-20. Of the people there are some who say, we have Iman in Allah and the Last Day, but they do not have Iman. 2:8. We have previously seen that the Quran has divided mankind into principally two categories, Momin and Kafir. Those are Momin who accept the truth of Allah's Wahi as noted in the Quran. Kafir are those who do not accept it. Now a third category comes before us, and it consists of those people who say that we accept this truth, but despite this they are not Momin. The details given in the Quran regarding this aspect will now appear before us. The Quran has defined 5 constituents of Iman: Allah, Malaika, books, messengers, and the hereafter. In this verse, 2:8, it is stated that these people say that we have accepted Iman in Allah and the hereafter. Some people with a superficial understanding think that since these people are claimants of Iman in only 2 out of the 5 constituents, and leave aside the other 3 constituents, this is the reason why the Quran has stated that they are not Momin. 4.1 The question is not about numbers. This is a flawed understanding. The question here is not about 2 or 3 constituents out of 5. Undoubtedly, the constituents of Iman are 5 according to the Quran, 2:177, but its style is that at some places it only mentions one of these constituents, at some places 2, and some places 3, and some places 5. But at every place its objective is always 5 constituents. For example, at one place it has stated, in the case of those who say, our Rabb is Allah, and, further, stand straight and steadfast, the Malaika descend on them, 41:30. Here, only Iman in Allah is mentioned. In one verse of Surah Al-Baqarah it is stated, any who have Iman in Allah and the Last Day, and work righteousness, shall have their reward with their Rabb, 2:62. Here, Iman in Allah and the hereafter are cited. In Surah Al-Imran it is stated, so have Iman in Allah and His messengers, 3:179. And in Surah Al-Taghabun, have Iman, therefore, in Allah and His messenger, and in the light which we have sent down, 64:8. From these explanations it is clear that the meaning of verse 2:8 is not that since these people only accept these 2 constituents of Iman and not the rest, therefore they cannot be Momin. Here, only 2 constituents are referred to, but all 5 are inferred. The meaning is that there are such people who acknowledge that they accept the constituents of Iman cited by the Quran, but despite this they are not Momin. While discussing the topic of Iman, it has been stated earlier, see 2:3, that the Quran also mentions such people who, though they are included in the nation of Muslims, despite this they are not Momin. From this it also means those people who are called Muslims by birth, as well as those who do not have firmness in their Iman. In other words, though they are claimants of having Iman in the truths of the Quran, their deeds are contrary to the Quran. For example, it is stated in Surah Yusuf, and most of them have no Iman in Allah without associating partners with Him. 12:106. Details of this will be covered at its own place, where it will be explained what it is that is termed shirk, and how Muslims remain incriminated in shirk despite being claimants of having Iman. It is clear that according to the Quranic standard they cannot be called Momin. It has actually declared about the Mu'mineen that it is those who have Iman, and then do not mix their Iman with zulm, injustice, 6:82. They accept Iman, and then do not permit this Iman to be contaminated through zulm. An explanation of this will also come later, where it will be described what zulm is and how it causes Iman to go to waste. The Quran has even stated that when the time for manifestation of results arrives, then no good will it do to a self to have Iman in them then, if he did not have Iman before, nor earned righteousness through its Iman, 6:158. This means that the Quran does not accept iman without deeds as iman. About these kinds of people the Quran will also say that of the people there are some who say, we have iman in Allah and the last day, but they do not, really, have iman. 2:8. But from this verse is not meant just these people. It is declared about the people who are referred to in this verse that fain would they deceive Allah and those who have iman, but they only deceive themselves, and realize it not. 2:9. These people deceive Allah and the Jamaat-e-Mu'minin. Now the matter has become clear. A mu'min is the one who has iman in his heart and also iman on his lips. A kafir is the one who has kufr in his heart as well as on his tongue. But this third category is of those people who, even though they do not possess iman in their hearts, in order to deceive they say that we have accepted iman. 4.2 Munafiq, hypocrite. In other words, there is a coherence between the heart and the tongue in both iman and kufr, mutual harmony with haqq and truth in iman, mutual conformity with batil in kufr. But when there is no harmony between the heart and tongue, then such an individual remains neither a mu'min nor a kafir. In Quranic terminology this is termed a munafiq. For the dictionary meaning of munafiq, see the interpretation of verse 2:3, under unfikun, where it is explained that a tunnel in which the path to enter and exit are both open is called nafakun. When a wild rat makes its hole, it digs numerous tunnels in order to exit and covers their openings with a thin layer of soil, and when it senses some danger from outside, then it escapes through one of these concealed tunnels. Every single one of these tunnels is called an nafakatu. It is clear from this that an individual will be called munafiq who, before entering some system or society, checks first of all where the hidden escape routes are. In other words, he will not be sincere even when he is entering the society, he will be a deceiver. This is why the Quran has stated that these are those people who deceive Allah and the Jamaat-e-Mu'minin. 2:9. 4.3 Meaning of khada, deception. Here, the word khuda'an is used to mean deceiving. The meaning of this root, khdn, is to outwardly manifest contrary to whatever is in the heart, to do evil to someone surreptitiously. Its meanings emerge clearly before us from the vivid way in which Arabs used to use it. The fame and good manners of Arabs were based on their hospitality. They lived in deserts. For them only the milk or meat of cattle could be the constantly available commodity from which guests could be hosted. Hence, they would generally offer milk to a traveler arriving among them. And just imagine, if guests enter a tent and the she-camel giving milk is tied up outside, the host goes to milk the camel but she fails to produce any milk, then what will be the state of that host? They used to call such a she-camel kuduan. From this it is evident how a munafiq deceives that party in which he is included, i.e., he is extremely untrustworthy, and it can never be said about him when he will next deceive. Similarly, they used to call a path which outwardly appeared to be leading towards the destination, but in truth was against it, as qa'ida'an. Similarly, they also called a miraj kida'an. Even that dinar which looked to be legal tender but after checking was found to be false was called qadi'an. That bazaar in which the rates of things keep changing every moment, i.e., now one, now another, is called sukan kadayati'an. From these meanings of this word this reality will become apparent that the people who are now going to be described, i.e., hypocrites, what their characteristics are, and how they can become the cause for the destruction and disintegration of the society and system in which they are included. Just a couple of verses after this, the Quran has stated that these people are kazib, i.e., liars. But the Quranic meaning of kazb cannot become clear by just saying liars. 4.4 Meaning of kazb. The Quran itself has made this clear in such a way that after this there is no need for any further clarification. An individual is not in possession of the correct knowledge about some event, but whatever he knows, he narrates it as such. This description of his cannot be termed as being true because it is contrary to the event, but that person will not be called kazib or kazab. In contrast to this, let us see who is called kazib according to the Quran. In Sura Munafiqun it is stated, When the hypocrites come to you, they say, "We bear witness that you are indeed the messenger of Allah." Yes, Allah knows that you are indeed his messenger, and Allah bears witness that the hypocrites are indeed liars. 63:1. O Rasool! When these hypocrites come to you, they corroborate that you are, in reality, the Rasool of Allah. You will see that they have stated what is absolutely true, so true that Allah himself provides evidence of its truth by proclaiming, Allah himself knows that you are truly his Rasool. But after this he states, but Allah also gives evidence of this, that these hypocrites are absolute liars. Note here that these people are saying such a thing which is actually based on truth. Allah himself verifies that this is indeed true, but despite this he declares that those who are saying this are liars. From this it is evident that, according to the Quran, the one who is called Kazb will be the one in whom the heart and tongue are not in mutual harmony, i.e., there is one thing in the heart and something else on the tongue. These are the ones whom the Quran terms as hypocrites, i.e., those people who do not have iman in their hearts, they only say it to deceive. 2:8. The next verse states, "Fain would they deceive, Qada, Allah and those who have iman, but they only deceive themselves and are not conscious of it, at this stage." 2:9. In their own minds these people think they are deceiving Allah and the Jamaat-e-Mu'minin, but in actual fact they are deceiving themselves, their own selves, not anyone else, but they do not comprehend this at the conscious level. The reason they cannot deceive Allah is because he is so knowledgeable and omniscient that he is even aware of the thoughts passing through the hearts and the tricks of the eyes. 40:19. Therefore, who can deceive him? And the reason that they cannot deceive the Jamaat-e-Mu'minin is because the Quran has described at various places such signs of the hypocrites in the light of which no one who possesses any vision can be deceived. It is possible that they may deceive someone for a short while, but after this, when the false veneer slips off, they cannot do it again. Such people cannot deceive on a permanent basis those men who possess intellect and awareness. Now the question remains of how they deceive their own selves. For this the Quran has stated something so comprehensive and profound which can be understood through the psychology of today. The Quran has stated that there is a sickness in their hearts. 2:10. 4.5 Psychological patient. This question about where is the center within man for understanding and thinking, intellect, and where is the center for perception of feelings, continues to be discussed since ancient times, and it can only be said that scholars have not reached any definite conclusion in this regard up until now. Intellect and feelings are considered to be two separate categories and their centers have not been identified with certainty. Sometime previously, psychologists had devised and adopted the terminology of mind, which was considered to be the confluence of intellect and feelings, but a short while later found that the status of its was also based on a misunderstanding. From this word the adjective mental was created. On the one hand this was related purely to the brain, just as the place for treatment of mental diseases is called a mental hospital, and on the other hand, it has been declared to be linked to feelings, just as a diseased mentality does not mean mental diseases, but psychological disorder. Psychologists have devised another term which is called the psyche, and it is translated as the human nafs or self. But until now it has not even been able to be ascertained as to what it actually is. 4.6 Qalb and Fuad, heart and mind. In the Arabic language, and in the Quran, two words, qalbun and fuadun, appear for this purpose. If a superficial line of differentiation is to be drawn between the two, then it can be said that qalbun is the source of understanding and vision and intellect and reasoning, and fuadun the origin of emotions of sorrow and anguish, which is from the root, fad, which means frying, i.e. anger and anxiety, sorrow and anguish, pain and grief, etc. But this is also not a definite line of distinction. The Quran has also noted about qalb that it is a source of reflection and contemplation. For example, qalb, from which they do not make use of intellect and reasoning, 7:179, or 2246, but on the other hand, At one place Qalb is stated to be an abode of peace and contentment, 48:4, and at another place an abode of love and mercy. And we ordained in the hearts of those who followed him, Isa, compassion and mercy, 57:27. In another verse it is called Qalbi Salim, a sound heart, 26:89, and at another place Qalbi Munib, a devoted heart, 50:33, at another place melting under the influence of strong feelings, 8:2, and at another place hearts becoming hardened like a stone, 2:74, 6:43. And on the other hand it has also termed Foat as the center of intellect and reasoning at places, 16:78, and elsewhere as a source of emotions e.g. 11:120, 28:10, 104:7. From these details it is clear that the Quran has not specifically and definitively declared about Qalb and Foat which one of these is the center of the intellect, and which one is the fountainhead of emotions. But it has stated this about the hypocrites, that they have sickness in their hearts, 2:10. See also, 8:49. Moreover, it has stated about the Quran that in it is a healing for the sicknesses of the heart, 10:57. It is evident from these verses that by diseases of the heart is meant psychological dissonances and disintegration. In the Arabic language the basic meaning of maradun is a disturbance in balance and equilibrium in such a way that there is debility, weakness or deficiency in some strength. Based on these explanations, there is a sickness in their hearts will mean a disturbance in the balance of heart and outlook, or psychological conflict. This is what will be called a diseased mentality, or such an unbalanced personality which is suffering from various kinds of contradictions or complexes. 1400 years ago from today, terming hypocrisy as a psychological disease could only be the marvel of the Quran. 4.7 Consciousness. And when the next part, they are not conscious of it, 2:9, is combined with this, then the matter becomes even more profound and refined. Arabs used to call the comprehension of something through the senses as consciousness. What the Quran has stated is that hypocrites are victims of one such psychological disease whose diagnosis cannot be made through sense perception. The psychology of the modern era has divided the human self into two parts, or levels, conscious mind and unconscious mind. The roots and causes of psychological diseases are buried and hidden in those vaults of the unconscious mind where the gazes of the human consciousness, i.e., sense perception, cannot reach. The Quran has stated that a hypocrite is a patient of one such psychological disease whose roots and causes his consciousness cannot reach. This disease is psychological and its treatment is also psychological. 4.8 Signs of the Universe and the Human Self. Now reflect that when the Quran has stated about itself that the means for the diagnosis and treatment of psychological diseases are contained within it, 10:57, then to what depths of realities has it reached by this? And what kinds of hidden aspects has it invited human knowledge to reach, and placed emphasis on? It has stated about its own implicit realities. Soon will we show them our signs in the furthest regions of the universe, and in their own selves, until it becomes manifest to them that this is the truth, 41:53. We will keep unveiling those signs of ours which are hidden within the domain of the human self and within the universe until every proclamation of the Quran appears in front as an established reality. The signs dispersed within the outer universe are those which are becoming uncovered through sense perception, scientific research and discoveries. The era of discovery of the hidden realities in the domain of the human self has now begun, as man continues to progress in knowledge of human psychology. Who knows what hidden realities of the Quran, by becoming uncovered, will keep appearing. It is evident from this that in order to comprehend the truths of the Quran, it is essential that the level to which human knowledge has reached should be in the sight of those who are thinking and reflecting in the Quran. And this is the very reason that reflecting and reasoning in the Quran cannot be restricted to any era, nor can any era or individual make the claim that his scholarly conclusions about the Quran are the final word. In this discussion of words, it is necessary to understand that the Quran is not a book of logic or philosophy, that it should become entangled in the amplification of the complexities and points of the terminologies of these topics. Its language is Arabic, therefore the general meaning of its words are the same as those meanings in which the Arabs used them. Although where it uses these words in the form of terms, then their meanings become specific, the words qalb and fu'ad etc. have been used taking their general meanings, whereas the word nafs is its special term which it uses for that force which is the source of human decision-making and because of which man is declared to be responsible for his deeds. The meanings for which it has used this term of its will be described later in the discussion about nafs. There you will observe that this is a very comprehensive and unique term of the Quran, and no single word of any other language can interpret it accurately and completely, not even the term psyche or self of modern psychology. We also use the word self, or ego, or personality merely for the sake of making it comprehensible. These words also cannot be an alternative or synonym for the Quranic term nafs. After these fundamental and introductory explanations about the hypocrites, it is important to note their particular and distinguishing signs which the Quran specifically describes. These traits of theirs are explained with such frequency in the Quran, that it is difficult to encompass them all at one point. Here, we present a few of these salient traits. 4.9 Kufr of Munafiqeen, hypocrites. In the verse under view, 2:8, those people are mentioned who say that we have accepted Iman but they are not Momin, i.e. there is kufr in their hearts and the words of Iman on their tongues, and they do all this in order to deceive. In other places, the Quran has elucidated this in these words. Who say we accept Iman with their lips but whose hearts have no Iman. 5:41. These same words have been reiterated in 3:167, and in both places it is stated that they are nearer to kufr in comparison to Iman. It is stated even more clearly that though they are in reality kafir, they pretend to be momin with their tongues. In Surah Al-Ma'idah it is stated, when they come to you, they say, we have accepted Iman, but in fact they enter with a mind against Iman, and they go out with the same. But Allah knows fully all that they hide. 5:61. When they come to you they state that we have accepted Iman, but in reality, even though they come, it is with kufr, and when they return from here, it is also with kufr, but they keep this kufr concealed within their hearts. Say to them that Allah is acquainted with even your hidden secrets, therefore which of your affairs can you hide from him? Because of this concealed kufr of theirs, they are called brothers of kufr, 59:11, and Rasulullah is enjoined. O Nabi! Strive hard against the kufr and the munafiqeen, hypocrites, and be firm against them, 9:73. They are all part of the same flock, 66:9. In Surah Al-Baqarah it is stated, when they meet those who have Iman, they say, we have accepted Iman, but when they are alone with their evil ones, they say, we are really with you, we were only jesting. 2:14. When these people meet Mu'mineen, they say we have accepted Iman. But when they secretly meet with their mentors, they assure them that when we mix with these people, do not think by this that we have aligned with them, we are in reality with you, we are only jesting with these people. 4.10 No one has any trust in them. We should not just move on from this point. The Quran has noted a very profound matter here. The question which arises is, why did they feel the need to reassure their own people that we are definitely with you? From this it appears that even their own people did not have full trust in them, and this is exactly what occurs in hypocrisy. The beginning of the path of hypocrisy is always opportunistic, but gradually, as a result of this, the character itself of man becomes such that it simply cannot be trusted. Those people who are not acquainted with them become caught in their net of deceitfulness and become duped by them, but those people who know that they exhibit hypocrisy, do not consider them trustworthy, even if they are from among them. This is the reason that the Quran has stated about them that they are distracted in mind even in the midst of it, being neither for one group nor for another. 4:143. In their hearts, these people, hypocrites, are neither with this group nor that group, they keep fluttering like a fly between them, wherever they see sweets, they go and settle there. And then their sitting on one side is also never permanent, it is purely for their own self-interest. If, after this, some attraction catches their interest on the other side, they fly over there. This is the reason that, leaving aside Mominine, even the kuffar do not consider them trustworthy. Hence, it is stated in Surah Al-Baqarah. Behold, when they meet the Mominine, they say, we have Iman, but when they meet each other in private, they say, shall you tell them what Allah has revealed to you, that they may engage you in argument about it before your Rabb? Do you not understand this? 2:76. When these people meet the Jamaat-e-Mominine, they show themselves as having Iman. But when they meet their own people privately, they say to them that in the interests of our own party it is beneficial to maintain contact with these people, but you should take great care not to tell them about those matters in our own books which they can use as evidence against us, and cause us to hold our tongues. You should understand this issue very well. By looking at this closely, this fact will become clear that even the people of their own party do not have complete trust in them. This is the reason that they have to repeatedly emphasize that, sir, when you go there, take great precautions. As we have just noted, as a result of hypocrisy the psychological state of a man becomes such that no statement of his remains trustworthy. Among the opponents, trust in them simply cannot arise, even in the eyes of their own people they do not remain completely trustworthy. 4.11 Destructive mentality. Whatever their state is amongst themselves, the reality is that they leave no stone unturned for the ruin of whichever party of the opponents they join as hypocrites. In Surah Al-Imran it is stated, when they meet you, they say, we have Iman, but when they are alone, they bite off the very tips of their fingers at you in their rage. Say, perish in your rage, Allah knows well all the secrets of the heart. 3:119. When they meet you, they say, we have accepted Iman, but when they sit in their own private quarters away from you, then their emotions of envy and anger against you are so intense that they bite their own fingers like the insane. The Quran has only commented this much on their state, say to them, burn yourself to ashes in the fire of your rage. Allah knows what is in your hearts. It is stated in Surah An-Nisa. They have obedience on their lips, but when they leave you, a section of them meditate all night on things very different from what you are telling them. But Allah records their nightly plots, so keep clear of them, and put your trust in Allah, and enough is Allah as a disposer of affairs. 4:81. When they meet with you, they assure you of their full support and obedience, but when they separate from you, then whatever you have agreed, they conspire against it in the quietness of the night. They believe that there is no one to see and hear them. They do not know that the law of requital of Allah is continually documenting their each and every word. After this, Allah says to the Jamaat-e-Mominine, do not be stressed about these intrigues of theirs. Ignore them and keep total trust in the strength of Allah's laws. This trust and confidence will be sufficient for your success. In Surah At-Tawbah it is stated, if you do question them, they declare, with emphasis, we were only talking idly and in play. 9:65. If at any time the veil of their hypocrisy is torn away, and the members of the Jamaat-e-Mominine ask them, why are you saying these kinds of things, they reply to them, do not take these utterances of ours seriously, we just say these things in jest. In response to this, Allah informs the Jamaat-e-Mominine. Say, was it at Allah, and His signs, and His messenger, that you were mocking? 9:65. Say to them, about whom do you jest and mock? About Allah and His laws and His messenger? Do you not feel ashamed when you are talking like this? These are those sanctified domains where every individual possessing a sound heart should bow down with great solemnity and honor. This should never even cross your mind that anything can be said in jest about it here. You take these matters lightly and in jest, and do not even feel any hesitation and shame in acknowledging this? What sort of claimants of Iman are you? 4.12 Intrigues and Whisperings. The question arises, why do people adopt this kind of hypocritical path? At a basic level, the Quran has stated their aim as, they but wish that you should become a kafir, as they are, and thus be as they are. 4:89. For this, their conspiracy is this. A section of the people of the book say, have Iman in the morning in what is revealed to the Mu'mineen but reject it at the end of the day, perchance they may, themselves, turn back. 3:72. In the morning, after announcing your Iman, go and mingle with these people, remain interacting with them during the whole day, say such things there as a result of which doubts and suspicions emerge in the hearts of the simple people among them. In the evening, exit taking your kufr with you. It is possible that from among them even a few people may revert to their former way of kufr. Have you witnessed how deep their ploys are? As far as their speeches are concerned, the Quran states that these are very alluring and amazing. Then in every speech, taking vows in Allah's name, they keep making efforts to create trust in the hearts of their listeners for themselves. With their tongues they entice you, but their hearts are averse from you. 9:8. Whatever you say, they will continue to be in agreement with it, even though their hearts will be rebelling against it. While remaining within the Jamaat, their aim is to resort to that kind of whispering campaign as a result of which conflicts arise within your party. 9:48. These hypocrites will whisper about those dedicated people within the party, who willingly sacrifice their wealth, that they are spending money merely for show and in order to achieve a distinctive position within the Jamaat. As far as the poorer members of the Jamaat are concerned, who do not have the capacity to offer financial support and only offer their physical services, they ridicule them by saying, look at them, by bringing a spool of cotton they wish to enter their names among the buyers of Yusuf. 9:79. In this way, they keep creating disintegration within the Jamaat, so much so, that they also keep telling people. They are the ones who say, spend nothing on those who are with Allah's messenger, to the end that they may disperse. 63:7. You should stop giving contributions to this messenger. When he no longer has any money left, then all these people who are gathering around him will automatically abandon him. 4.13 False accusations against Rasulullah himself. The evil selves of these hypocrites did not remain confined to just this, their filthy hand did not even feel any hesitation in reaching to the supremely eminent self in front of whom the greatest of men in the world lowered their heads with respect and felt great pride and dignity in doing this. It is stated in Surah At-Tawbah. And among them are men who slander you in the matter of the distribution of alms. If they are given part thereof, they are pleased, but if not, behold, they are indignant. 9:58. O Rasool! There are also such evil-spirited men among them who do not even abstain from levelling false accusations against you in the distribution of alms. If you give them enough to make them happy, then all is good. If you do not give them this much, then the fire of vengeance erupts in their hearts and they keep concocting and spreading all kinds of accusations against you. It has already been noted that infaq fi sabilillah, spending in the cause of Allah, for the establishment and strengthening of the divine system is a fundamental requirement. And infaq in the cause of Allah will only be declared at that time when the giver hands over with the full agreement of his heart, and his objective is nothing other than seeking Allah's pleasure. It is obvious that this could never be the condition of the hypocrites. But they had to contribute something or other in order to prevent the exposure of their hypocrisy. In the early days of the formation of the Jamaat, when the Islamic system of sustenance had not yet been established, and assistance was extended to one another on an individual basis, the state of these people was such that if they were ever compelled to contribute something, then they would make the life of that poor soul hell by continually reminding him of their favor. These are those very people to whom the Quran has referred when the Jamaat-e-Mu'mineen were informed. O you who have Iman! Cancel not your charity by reminders of your generosity or by injury, like those who spend their substance to be seen of men but have Iman neither in Allah nor in the last day. They are in parable like a hard, barren rock, on which is a little soil, on it falls heavy rain, which leaves it, as, a bare stone. They will be able to do nothing with aught they have earned. And Allah guides not those people who are kafir. 2:264. 4.14 Showing off. O Jamaat Imamaneen. Do not ever do this, that after helping someone, you remind him of this favor and in this way cause hurt to his feelings. In this way, all that you have done will go to waste. Only an individual who has neither iman in Allah nor conviction in the hereafter can behave like this. But thinking that I have to live among these people, and so have to have good relations with them, he gives something for the sake of appearances. You can understand this kind of nifaq from the example of a hard rock on which a fine layer of soil builds up randomly, giving the appearance of the land being very fertile in which an excellent crop will grow, but when a single heavy splash of rain falls on it, all the soil is washed away and only bare rock remains behind. In this way, never mind obtaining numerous grains from one seed, the hard work which was expended in cultivating the crop and the seed which was sown, will also go to waste. Remember, the paths of success and blessings are never opened up in front of those people who do not have iman in the truth of Allah's laws and only do good to show off. These people did not only show off in the matter of infaq, they used to participate in the congregations for salat with this same purpose. It is stated in Surah An-Nisa. The hypocrites, they think they are overreaching Allah, but He will overreach them. When they stand up for salat, they stand without earnestness, to be seen of men, but little do they hold Allah in remembrance. 4:142. In their own minds these hypocrites are deceiving Allah, but in reality they are trapped in deceiving their own selves. When they participate in the gatherings of salat they do so under compulsion, there is more display in this and very little remembrance of Allah. Hence, there is no achievement in this salat of theirs. And not only the congregations for salat, they even used to take part with the Islamic army in battles, but after reaching there would foment such intrigues, spread rumors, and create doubts so that people should lose heart and desert the battlefield. 3:154. In Surah Tawbah these kinds of intrigues of theirs have been mentioned with great clearness and elaboration. This should be studied with great attention and reflection because subsequent history informs us that the degree of harm which Muslims have suffered via the hands of hypocrites, not even a fraction of this reached them via the hands of their open adversaries. This is in fact the reason why the Quran has noted this in such detail, so that we remain wary in this matter. 4.15 The obedience of the hypocrites. Iman is the name for obedience to Allah, i.e., obedience to Allah's laws in every aspect and in every matter. In this obedience there is no question of equivocation or self-interest. But hypocrites never embrace this kind of compliance. Their state is such that there are among men some who serve Allah, as it were, on the verge. If good befalls them, they are, therewith, well content, but if a trial comes to them, they turn on their faces, they lose both this world and the hereafter, that is loss for all to see. 22:11. The Quran states that these people believe that they obtain only benefits from this conduct, but if they only looked a little deeper, then they would see that from this there is a loss both in this life and in the hereafter as well. And it is obvious that what greater loss can there be than this? By stating the following, the Quran has drawn a clear line of distinction between kufr and iman. If any do fail to judge by the light of what Allah has revealed, i.e., the Quran, they are kafir. 544. In further explanation of this, it has proclaimed in clear words in another verse. But nay, by Rab, they can have no iman, until they make you judge in all disputes between them and find in their selves no resistance against your decisions, but accept them with the fullest conviction. 4:65. O Rasool! Your Rab is witness to this fact that these people can never be mu'min until the time that they accept you as their adjudicator in those matters in which they differ. And never mind differing vocally against whatever decision you make, do not even feel any reservation in the depths of their hearts against this, and willingly bow their heads before it. This is the fundamental requirement for being a mu'min. Contrary to this, it is stated about the hypocrites that, have you not turned your vision to those who declare that they have Iman in the revelations that have come to you and to those before you? Their wish is to resort together for judgment, in their disputes, to the evil one, though they were ordered to reject him. But Shaitan's wish is to lead them astray far away. 4:60. Have you also paid attention to the state of those people who think in their hearts that they have Iman in this Quran and in whatever had been revealed to the previous Anbiya? While in practice their state is such that they seek decisions on their affairs through non-divine courts and edicts, though they were commanded to reject them, adopt kufr towards them. This is what we had instructed them, but the forces of Shaitan desire that they stray far from the straight path. After this it is stated, when it is said to them, come to what Allah has revealed, and to the Messenger, you see the hypocrites avert their faces from you in disgust. 4:61. Have you observed what hypocrisy is? To verbally claim to be a Muslim, and in practical terms to have the decisions of their affairs taken through laws of other than Allah. In light of this, just think at what juncture are we standing? This was, however, a side issue. Now an even more profound point for reflection and reasoning comes before us. 4.16 Division into sects. The establishment of Islam as ad-din, the system of life, and the unity of the Ummah are inherently linked, i.e., if the unity of the Ummah does not endure and it becomes divided into sects or parties, then Islam no longer remains as ad-din, it converts into religion. Furthermore, it is the utmost endeavor of the opponents that division becomes created within the Ummah. Those who are kafir, i.e., open enemies, succeed with difficulty in this respect, but the intrigues of hypocrites are more often effective. These people create this kind of division under the cover of religion. The hypocrites had engaged in this kind of duplicity during the presence of Rasulullah himself. They constructed a mosque. They were doing all this before the very eyes of the Muslims, but it appears as if the veil of deception was so thick that no one could detect this plot, and they did not pay any serious attention to it, until Allah himself had to lift this veil and he informed them through wahi. And there are those who put up a mosque by way of mischief and infidelity, to disunite the Mu'mineen, and in preparation for one who warred against Allah and his messenger aforetime. They will indeed swear that their intention is nothing but good, but Allah does declare that they are certainly liars. 9:107. Among these hypocrites there are also those people who have advanced so far in their plots that they have constructed a mosque, and in this way they have displayed that they are very staunch mu'min and devotees of the divine system. But in reality, their intention was for harm to reach the system via this mosque, and for the paths of kufr to be expanded, i.e., to create division among Muslims, and so that in this way this mosque may become a safe haven for those people who are already engaged from the beginning in opposing the divine system. These people will swear oaths that we have constructed this mosque with highly pious intentions, but Allah gives evidence that these people are tremendous liars. Never stand you forth therein. There is a mosque whose foundation was laid from the first day on piety, it is more worthy of you standing forth therein. In it are men who love to be purified, and Allah loves those who make themselves pure. 9:108. O Rasool! You must not even put one foot in this mosque which creates division among Muslims. Can it possibly be worthy of you even putting one foot in it? You can have neither any connection with these people, nor any connection with their constructed mosque. 6:159. The mosque deserving of this is that one whose foundation is laid from the very first day on observance of the established principles of the laws of Allah. Only those people come and go in it who keep themselves clean and pure from the contamination of the shirk of sectarianism. 30:30. And these are the very people who are viewed with approval according to the divine laws. Which then is best? He that lays his foundation on piety to Allah and his good pleasure? Or he that lays his foundation on an undermined sand cliff ready to crumble to pieces? And it does crumble to pieces with him, into the fire of hell. And Allah guides not people that do wrong. 9:109. Ask them that is the individual who has laid the foundation of his structure on observance of the divine laws and in harmony with the will of Allah better. Or that individual who has established this foundation on the edges of sand dunes which are continually eroding and falling into the river, and consequently that structure falls into the pit of hell taking its founder with it? The truth is that the path of prosperities and successes of life can never open up for those people who rebel against the divine laws in this way. And after this the Quran has described the nature of this hell, whose flames have wrapped themselves around the hearts of these hypocrites, in these words. The foundation of those who so build is never free from suspicion and shakiness in their hearts, until their hearts are cut to pieces. And Allah is all-knowing, wise. 9:110. Remember, this building of theirs, which they have constructed for this destructive purpose, will keep piercing their hearts like a thorn, as a result of which discontent and torment in their hearts will keep multiplying. There will be no decrease in the fire of their anger and prejudice, so that their hearts become shattered into pieces from the severity of this torment. Say to them that these decrees of Allah are no mere threats, these are truths based on knowledge and wisdom which will surely come to pass. 4.17 Our mosques. We thought it necessary to explain this incident with full details from the Quran, because this is not merely reference to an event occurring 1400 years ago, within this is concealed our own narrative as well. Regarding mosques, the Quran had stated, "And the mosques are for Allah, alone, so invoke not anyone along with Allah." 72:18. This is a fact that mosques should only be for Allah alone, hence, do not call upon anyone else together with Allah, nor associate them with anyone other than Allah, nor use them for anything other than for the establishment and sustaining of the divine system. Keep this fundamental aim of the mosques and this directive of Allah in mind, and along with this, focus your attention on Masjid-e-Zarar and then cast an eye on all the mosques spread around the world. You will see that these mosques are attributed to some sect or other. It is unlikely that there is even one mosque exclusively for the cause of Allah. And according to the description by the Quran, the mosque which is a representation of sectarianism among Muslims is Masjid-e-Zarar, an abode of kufr, and a haven for those who war against Allah and Rasool. We feel that nothing further remains to be said regarding this matter. 4.18 Teasing virtuous women. Apart from creating division within the Ummah, the Quran has also given prominence to another crime of the hypocrites, and there are hundreds of lessons and admonitions concealed in this for us also. Firstly, in Surah Al-Ahzab the wives and daughters of Rasulullah, and other Muslim women, are advised that when they go out, they should cover themselves with a cloak, so that from this they are recognized as being virtuous women. O Nabi, tell your wives and your daughters and the believing Mu'mineen women that they should cast their outer garments over their persons, when abroad. That is more suitable that they should be known, as such, and not be molested. 33:59. And so the hypocrites will not get an opportunity to say that we teased them in error. After this, the Quran states, "Truly, if the hypocrites and those in whose hearts is a disease, and those who stir up sedition in the city, Al-Madinah, desist not, we will certainly stir you up against them, then they will not be able to stay in the society as your neighbors for any length of time. They shall have a curse on them, wherever they are found, they shall be seized and slain." 33:60-61. Take this degree of precaution, but if even after this the hypocrites, i.e., those people whose hearts are filled with evils, and whose only task is to spread malicious news in the society, do not desist from their mischiefs, then force will need to be used against them until they go far away from here. In response to this crime of theirs they will be deprived of all those facilities which they possess as citizens of the Islamic State. But if they do not desist from their rebellion even after this, then wherever they are, they will be arrested and will be given the death penalty. Have you observed that, according to the Quran, how extremely severe this crime of pestering virtuous ladies is, and by spreading rumors against them, causing pain to them in this way? That crime whose ultimate punishment can also be the death penalty. In the next verse after this it is proclaimed, This was the established way of Allah among those who passed on aforetime, no change will you find in the way of Allah. 33:62. This is not a transitory or emergency command, this is, in fact, that command of Allah which has been enforced in the society of ad-Din before this as well. There can never be any alteration in this command. Just assess from this how high the status of a woman is, and how important it is to respect it according to the Quran. These are a few examples of the intrigues, seditions, machinations and divisiveness of the hypocrites which have been described here. Details of these are emphasized and reiterated at various places in the Quran, their explanation will be given at these respective places. As has already been stated, the Quran instructed Rasulullah emphatically to war against the hypocrites in the same way as war is undertaken against the kuffar. The Quran has stated in its warning style that it will be better for these people if they refrain from their opposing stance. If they repent, it will be best for them, but if they turn back, Allah will punish them with a grievous penalty in this world and in the hereafter. And there will not be for them on earth any protector or helper. 9:74. At another place it is declared that they will achieve some worldly benefits through their trickeries. This same wealth and possessions will become the cause for hell because this will keep them trapped in this deception that their path is highly successful and that they should remain firm on it. On the basis of this path of theirs, it was stated to Rasulullah, whether you ask for forgiveness for them, or not, if you should ask 70 times for forgiveness for them, never will Allah forgive them. That is because they rejected Allah and His Messenger, and Allah does not guide those who are perversely rebellious. 9:80. 4.19 Severing relationship. In order to save themselves from this punishment, even if they come to you 1,000 times you should not trust them. In the divine law there is no allowance for protection from punishment for such people. This is because Iman, obedience, repentance, and forgiveness are merely words on their tongues. The sentiments of rejection and transgression against Allah and Rasool remain persistently jostling in their hearts. Such people asking for protection means nothing. At another place, addressing the Messenger, the Mu'mineen are indirectly informed not to obey the Kafirin and the Munafiqeen, to only obey the Wahi of Allah, and to maintain complete trust in its strength. 33:1, 33:48. They were also commanded to sever all social relationships with them. Among social relationships, attendance at funerals etc. defines the ultimate nature of this. They were instructed to keep away from this as well. It is stated here, through the Messenger. And do not ever pray for any of them that dies, nor stand at his grave. For they rejected Allah and His Messenger and died in a state of perverse rebellion. 9:84. Do not participate in their funeral rites, nor express good wishes for them on their death. And the reason for this has again been stated that they departed this world in a state of kufr. Hence, when such relationships cannot be held with the kufr, then how can these be amicably maintained with the hypocrites? The Quran has also taken this command of severing relationships with them to the next world, when it states, one day the hypocrites, men and women, will say to the Mu'mineen, wait for us. Let us borrow a light from your light. It will be said, turn you back to your rear. Then seek a light, where you can. So a wall will be put up betwixt them, with a gate therein. Within it will be rahmah throughout, and without it, all alongside will be the punishment. Azab. 57:13. 4.20 In the life of the hereafter. These people who are engaging in hypocrisy against you, i.e., are apparently living in harmony amongst you, are in truth disparate from you. In the hereafter they will say to you, wait. We would also like to take advantage of this light of yours. Then they will be told that, this light cannot be achieved by begging for it from others, this beacon can only be lit with the oil of your own individual deeds. Therefore, if you can go, then return to the previous life, and search for this direction from there. This is because this light is the outcome of those deeds which were performed in the worldly life, and since nobody can return to the worldly life, therefore they will not be able to obtain light from anywhere. The one whose lamp is extinguished in this life will also remain in darknesses in that life. 17:72. Between these two groups a wall will be erected in which will be a door on its inside, where those people will be in whose hearts there was Iman. There will only be rahmat everywhere, and outside it, where the hypocrites with false faces will be, there will only be azab everywhere. The apparent difference between Iman and hypocrisy is only of one veil, but in terms of their consequences they are the opposite of each other. In the next verse it is stated, "Those without will call out to the mu'mineen, were we not with you?" The others will reply, "True, but you led yourself into temptation, you looked forward to our ruin, you doubted Allah's promise, and your false desires deceived you, until there issued the command of Allah. And the deceiver deceived you in respect of Allah." 57:14. Those hypocrites will call out repeatedly to these mu'mineen that did we not used to be with you, whereas now you are distancing yourselves from us? They will reply that this is correct, that apparently you used to be with us, but you kept yourselves in deceitfulness. You only used to stand in wait at the sidelines to see in what way the balance tilts, so that you could also be on that side. You always used to remain in suspicion and doubt about the truth of the divine system. Your individual vested interests used to create all kinds of deceptions in you. You remained in this turmoil and deception until the decisive moment arrived according to the divine law, the veils of deception were lifted, after which this truth became uncovered that you were not from among us. After this, the Quran states, "This day shall no ransom be accepted of you, nor of those who rejected Allah. Your abode is the fire. That is the proper place to claim you, and an evil refuge it is." 57:15. Then you also kept yourselves in this deception that if there is any accountability with Allah, then you will escape by offering some ransom or other. Now you can see that neither you yourselves by giving some ransom can escape from this azab, nor those kuffar among whom you were indeed a party. Hell is the abode for all of you, this is where you now belong. Now you can witness how awful is the outcome of your path of hypocrisy. Even though the Quran has stated that both the hypocrites and the kuffar will be combined together in hell, 4:140, along with this it has also elaborated that, indeed, the hypocrites will be in the lowest depths of the fire, and never will you find for them a helper. 4:145. This is a supreme reality which the Quran has explained in a few words. Kufr, and the hypocrites. Kufr is a common value in both, but the kuffar acknowledge it openly, while the hypocrites lie. There is a famous saying about lying that in order to hide one lie, man has to tell 10 more lies. Now just reflect in what a continuous state of hell and agony the life of the individual who makes use of lies at every step of his life will be spent. He will always be terrified that his lie will become discovered somehow or other. This is the very reason that the Quran has stated that a hypocrite is an immense coward. In Surah At-Tawbah it is stated that these hypocrites swear repeatedly that they are one of you, but they are not from among you. They swear by Allah that they are indeed of you, but they are not of you, yet they are afraid to appear in their true colors. 9:56. Their state is such that, if they could find a place to flee to, or caves, or a place of concealment, they would turn straight away thereto, with an obstinate rush. 9:57. The Quran has illustrated their condition in these words. When you look at them, their exteriors please you, and when they speak, you listen to their words. They are as worthless as hollow pieces of timber propped up, unable to stand on their own. They think that every cry is against them. They are the enemies, so beware of them. The curse of Allah be on them. How are they deluded, away from the truth? 63:4. If you look at their outward appearance, physical stature, their apparel, their mannerisms, it all appears very attractive and pleasant. When they make conversation, it is so charming and compelling that the listener becomes captivated. But lift these outward veils slightly, then you will witness that they are not strong and healthy human beings, they are hollow, dry, termite-eaten wood, which has been placed against a wall for support. The state of their cowardice is such that if even a leaf rustles somewhere, their heart misses a beat, thinking that some new calamity has arrived. Just reflect that the individual who is spending his life in persistent turmoil like this, if his place is not in the lowest level of hell, then where else will it be? 4.21 Darjayat and Darkat, ascending and descending. Though it is a small matter, it is, however, so fascinating that I do not wish to proceed without expanding on it. From this also you will see why Allah selected the language of the Arabs to present the Quranic facts before mankind. It is stated above that the hypocrites will be in the lowest level of hell, 4:145, on the lowest rung. Bring the concept of a ladder to mind, it only has a few rungs. When an individual is climbing up using these steps, the Arabs used to call this darjayat, and when he was descending via the same, they called this as being darkat. The steps of the ladder are the same, they take the individual who wishes to ascend towards the heights, up to those heights, and whoever wishes to descend into the depths, they take him down. The means and conveniences of physical life are the same, for the one who wishes to achieve higher ranks, these means and conveniences take him towards successes, for the one who wishes to draw nearer towards ruin and degradation, these push him into the pits of ruin. The question is not about wherewithal, it is about the way in which it is utilized, or we can say it is about the aim for the achievement of which these are employed. 4.22 Jews and Bedouin Arabs. Rasulullah spent the first phase of the program in front of him in Mecca. There, his dealing was with the Quraysh. There was no hypocrisy in the character of the Quraysh. When they opposed, they did this openly, and if they were establishing friendly relations, that too was done with a clear declaration. For the next phase of his program, Rasulullah came to Medina. The population of this town was very modest, and this, too, being made up of mainly Jews, whose hypocrisy is quoted as an example throughout the world. These were those people of the book about whom the Quran has stated that their gambit was that in the morning they would mingle among the Muslims as Muslims, spread doubts among them, arouse suspicions, and in the evening return to their own Jamaat. The purpose of this was that in this way, those with a weak iman may also possibly leave the Jamaat Imamanin with them. A section of the people of the book say, believe in the morning what is revealed to the Mu'minin, but reject it at the end of the day, perchance they may, themselves, turn back. 3:72. Their settlements were in Medina and its surrounding areas. Bedouin Arabs also used to inhabit this environment. As far as race was concerned, they were also Arabs, therefore just like the Quraysh, they too should have refrained from hypocrisy, but it appears that by living in the same environment as the Jews, the germs of hypocrisy had also infiltrated them. It is because of this that the Quran has called them brethren of the hypocritical people of the book, 59:11, and has declared, the Arabs of the desert are the worst in kufr and hypocrisy, 9:97, see also, 9:101. By joining together with the Jews, these people continued to hypocritically intrigue against the Islamic system, but when, despite this opposition, Muslims established their own state, they adopted obedience to it and accepted Iman. These are the ones about whom the Quran has instructed to say to them, do not assert this, that we have accepted Iman, say instead that we have bowed our heads before the Islamic State. Iman has not entered into the depths of their hearts, 49:11. But it appears as if the veneer of hypocrisy had left them by then, and the Arabic tradition had once again emerged and come to the surface. This is because the Quran has not declared about them that they deceive Allah and the Jamaat Imamanin. Thus it is stated that, but if you obey Allah and His Messenger, He will not belittle aught of your deeds, 49:14. If these people continue to obey Allah and Rasool, then there will not be an iota of reduction in the recompense for their deeds. We do not wish to add anything further about them. As far as the hypocrites are concerned, they tormented Muslims all their lives and left no stone unturned in their destruction. The question is, why did Allah not expose them, so that Rasulullah and the Jamaat-e-Momineen, i.e. the divine system, could have remained protected from their intrigues, and instead of the energies of this Jamaat being utilized in their defense, these could have been utilized fully in the constructive program? The extent to which this question is important, its answer merits attention to the same degree. In Surah Muhammad it is stated that have these people in whose hearts there is the disease of hypocrisy, ever considered that this concealed evil of theirs can become clearly evident, 47:29? After this, Allah stated to Rasulullah, had we so willed, we could have shown them up to you, and you would have known them by their marks, but surely you will know them by the tone of their speech. And Allah knows all that you do. 47:30. Allah is well aware of their mischiefs, hence, if He had wished it, He could have informed you via wahi of such visible signs by which you could have easily recognized them. But O Rasool, we did not do this. Doing this would have been against the program of our Mashi'at. We left them, so that you will need to identify them yourselves through their speech. 4.23 You will need to recognize them yourself. Though it is a small matter, a great reality is concealed within it. When the messenger commenced his revolutionary invitation, a horde of oppositions appeared from all directions, and this opposition of theirs continued till his last breath. The Kuffar of Makkah were included among these, as well as the hypocrites of Medina. If we glance at it superficially, the opposition of the Quraysh of Makkah was very intense and testing of courage, but if we look at it more closely, then we will see that the opposition of the hypocrites was far more painful, a source of hardship, testing of patience, and demanding steadfastness as compared to the Quraysh of Makkah. The Quraysh were open enemies, they would announce their arrival and proclaim before striking. There was neither any difficulty in recognizing them, nor any problem in assessing their intentions. But the situation with the hypocrites was completely different. Whereas they, the Quraysh, would appear with open countenances, their swords grasped in their hands, these would come veiled, with daggers hidden up their sleeves, they could neither be easily recognized, nor could their intentions be assessed externally. How complicated their dilemma was, and how challenging the solution to this can be gauged from the details noted in Surah At-Tawbah. This dilemma would have been very easy to solve if a trustworthy method or means could have been obtained to recognize them. Obviously, what means could there have been for this which were more reliable than the trustworthy and definite means of wahi? But Allah has stated that it is not at all difficult for us that we inform you about their whereabouts and their signs, but we will not do this, you will have to do this yourselves. From this it is apparent that as far as wahi is concerned, it was a purely supernatural and beyond human source of knowledge, there was no part played in it of the messenger's own intellect and vision, or effort and exertion. But in the wondrous achievements which he accomplished in the light of wahi, there was no intervention of any supernatural element, that was the outcome of his own exemplary wisdom and vision, and the fruit of an unparalleled character and conduct. The response to the plots of the opponents was carried out with meticulous planning, and the cut of the sword was countered with the skill of a swordsman. This was a war at an equal level between two opposing sides, with this distinction that the enemy could use whatever trick they wished, but Rasulullah, and his Jamaat, had to remain within the limits and confines defined by wahi. In this battle and conflict the position of those on haqq appears to be disadvantageous, but in actual fact it was obedience to the values and principles defined by wahi due to which haqq ultimately succeeded. 4.24 Exemplary Model. By presenting this in front of the world as evidence of the truth of the pronouncements made by Rasulullah, it was stated, "You have indeed in the Messenger of Allah, a beautiful pattern of conduct for anyone." 33:21. The life of the Messenger is an ideal model for you. If an intervention of a supernatural element had played a part in these achievements, then the eminent life of Rasulullah could not have become a model for mankind. This was the reason that Allah told Rasulullah that we will not inform you about the signs by which to identify these hypocrites. You will have to distinguish them yourself through their words and deeds, and the Quran presents evidence of this, that the messenger did identify them and made his society free and pure from them. This is that reality which the Quran has referred to in these words, that Allah will not leave the mu'mineen in the state in which you are now, until he separates what is evil from what is good. 3:179. As has been explained during the discussion of verse 2:7, that though Allah relates these matters to his own self, these are in fact carried out by human beings themselves. Therefore it is also evident from this that during the life of Rasulullah this evil of the hypocrites was separated from the eminence of the Jamaat-e-Mu'mineen. And that society consisted of those dedicated mu'mineen who are known as the Sahaba. Since maturity had not yet been established in the Iman of the Bedouin, therefore the Quran has specifically termed these Sahaba as Muhajirin, Muslim migrants, and Ansar, local Muslims. Evidence of the purity of their Iman is found dispersed in the pages of the Quran like glittering pearls. In Surah Anfal it is noted, those who have Iman, and adopt exile and fight in the cause of Allah, as well as those who give them asylum and aid, these are all, in very truth, the mu'mineen, for them is protection and a provision most respectable. 8:74. 4.25 All the Sahaba were pure mu'min. Some among them were those who had said yes to the invitation of Rasulullah right at the beginning, and some were those who joined them slightly later. But Allah has given all of them glad tidings of Jannat. It is stated in Surah At-Tawbah, the vanguard of Islam, the first of those who forsook their homes, and of those who gave them aid, and, also, those who follow them in all righteous deeds. Well pleased is Allah with them, as are they with him, for them has he prepared such gardens under which rivers flow, to dwell therein forever, that is the supreme felicity. 9:100. Just reflect, Allah has given a guarantee of an eternal paradise for all the Sahaba, whether they were in the foremost category, or whether they joined them later, and has declared a shining certificate of Allah is well pleased with them, and they are well pleased with him for them all. Regarding those among them who joined later, he has stated that they are also from among you. 8:75. As far as the promise of Allah is concerned, there is no difference between them or you. There is no doubt in this that, according to the Quranic criterion, ranks are determined according to deeds. And to all are assigned degrees according to the deeds which they have done, and in order that Allah may recompense their deeds, and no injustice be done to them. 46:19. Therefore, those who were foremost among the forebearers, their ranks may be loftier, but as far as the divine promise of paradise and protection is concerned, it will be equal for them all. Hence, it is stated in Surah Al-Hayd, not equal among you are those who spent freely and fought before the victory, with those who did so later. Those are higher in rank than those who spent freely and fought afterwards. But to all has Allah promised a goodly reward. And Allah is well acquainted with all that you do. 57:10. These are those pure mu'mineen about whom Allah said to his messenger, he it is that has strengthened you with his aid and with the company of the mu'mineen. 8:62. After this, in another verse, this was elaborated in these words, O Nabi, sufficient unto you is Allah, and to the mu'mineen who follow you. 8:64. Have you observed how much loftier was the status of the Sahaba consisting of the Muhajirin and Ansar? This is that eminence whose portrait is drawn by the Quran in Surah Al-Fatih in these captivating words. Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, and those who are with him are strong against the kuffar, but compassionate amongst each other. You will see them bow and prostrate themselves, seeking grace from Allah and his good pleasure. On their faces are their marks, being the traces of their prostration, obedience to the laws of Allah. This is their similitude in the Torah, and their similitude in the Gospel is like a seed which sends forth its blade, then makes it strong, it then becomes thick, and it stands on its own stem, filling the sowers with wonder and delight. As a result, it fills the kufr with rage at them. Allah has promised those who have iman and do righteous deeds protection, and a great reward. 48:29 Muhammad, the messenger of Allah, and the Jamaat of his companions, and what a wonderful and amazing Jamaat this is. Their state is such that they are solid like a rock against the opponents of haqq, but extremely kind-hearted and compassionate amongst each other. 3:103 You can witness them, how they bow down to take on the burden of responsibilities and become personifications of willing obedience before the divine laws. But this is not a Jamaat of hermits, abandoning worldly life. They remain persistently engaged in pursuit of the means of sustenance for life as per the divine law, and together with this, they also endeavor that each deed of theirs should remain in harmony with the divine law, and for their character to become of one color with the divine attributes. The effects of the contentment of heart and sincere joy that they achieve as a consequence of this are conspicuously visible on their faces. These signs of theirs were also noted in the former divine books, the Torah and the Bible. The way in which they established this divine system and made it flourish, its similitude can be understood as follows: when a seedling emerges from a healthy seed, its first shoot is very soft and fragile. Then as its root keeps on becoming stronger, its stem becomes thicker, until it becomes so robust that it becomes firmly established on its own support in a balanced way. Corns of ear grow in it, and grains appear in these and become firm and strong. In this way, that tiny seed converts into a ripened crop. When the farmer observes his hard work coming to fruition in this way, he is filled with delight and joy. But this same thing becomes like a writhing snake in the hearts of his opponents. In this same way Allah gives this commitment to every one of those Jamaats which, having established iman in the truth of his laws, treads on the program instructed by him. In other words, gives a promise of this fact: this is his law, that the tiny seed of their efforts will remain protected from all dangers, and their crop will ripen and bear the best of fruits. 24:55 But for this the same kind of hard work and persistence will be required which is evidenced by a farmer: righteous seed, compatibility with the laws of nature, persistent hard work and determination and steadfastness. All these conditions are intrinsically linked for the maturation of the crop. It is clear from these explanations of the Quran that when Allah had stated that evil will be separated from the society of the Mu'mineen, that promise became fulfilled in this way, and the virtuous Jamaat which remained behind, i.e., the combined Jamaat of the companions at the time of Rasulullah's departure from the world, how it was righteous in all respects, there was no hypocrite among them. Now let us move on to the next verse. They think to deceive Allah and those who have iman, but they deceive not except themselves and perceive it not. 2:9 The exposition of this verse has been given in the explanation of the previous verse. There is only one point which merits further elaboration. In Surah An-Nisa the state of the hypocrites is explained in these words. The hypocrites, they think they are overreaching Allah but He will overreach them. 4:142 The translation commonly given of this is that, the hypocrites deceive Allah, and Allah deceives them. According to this translation, the concept which comes to mind about Allah is clear. For its correct meaning, let us remind ourselves of the discussion which has been given previously in relation to verse 2:7, and align these words from verse 2:9, with it: they deceive none but their own selves, and the matter will become entirely clear. The meaning of this verse will be that the hypocrites think in their own hearts that they are deceiving Allah and the Jamaat-e Mu'mineen, but in reality what occurs is that according to Allah's law of requital, they remain ensnared in self-deception. If the psychological disease of hypocrisy had not drawn a veil over the potentials of their intellect and consciousness, then this is not such a deep and complex matter that it could not have been understood by them. 4.26 Effects of deeds on the human self. In verse 2:9, this reality is also implicit that, as has been noted before, the effect or consequence of every deed of man becomes imprinted on his self, nafs. This is why the Quran has stated, if you did well for yourselves; if you did evil, you did it against yourselves, 17:7. If you do constructive deeds which lead towards balance, then it is your own self which flourishes from this, and if you commit acts which produce imbalance, then imbalance is created in your own self as a result. In another verse it has stated, and if anyone does a crime, he does it against his own self, 4:111. The crime which you, apparently, commit against others, is in reality against your own self. As a result of this your self becomes weak. The renowned German philosopher, Nietzsche, has explained this point in these words. The crime which you have committed against me, that I can forgive, but the crime you have committed against your own self due to this, who will forgive that? The Quran has expressed this truth presented by it in two brief but very comprehensive words in Surah Al-Hashr. And be you not like those who forgot Allah, and He made them forget their own selves, 59:19. This means that the consequence of ignoring Allah is the same as ignoring one's own self. And this is what has been declared as being self-deception in verse 2:9, under view. The next verse is, in their hearts is a disease, and Allah has increased their disease. And grievous is the penalty they incur, because they are false to themselves. 2:10. The meaning of this verse 2 has been covered under verse 2:8. It should be reiterated again that the Quran has declared hypocrisy to be a psychological ailment. The state of psychological diseases is such that until their true cause is not diagnosed, not only are they not cured, instead with every erroneous treatment the disease keeps increasing further. We have stated previously that man has to tell 10 lies in order to hide his one lie, and it is as a consequence of these that the disease keeps multiplying. This is why the Quran has stated that it is all the consequence of that falsehood and lie which they have made the blueprint of their lives. The Quran has termed the torment and dread produced by this disease of the hypocrites as azabun alim, i.e., a painful, agonizing punishment. We have already had a detailed discussion regarding kufr in connection with verse 2:6. You will have observed there that the relationship of kufr is with an error of judgment, or error in outlook of human understanding and insight. On this basis the devastation resulting from this is called azabun azim, 2:7, i.e., a terrible destruction. But since the connection of hypocrisy is with the human heart, or psychology, that is why the destruction caused by it is called a grievous azab. In general terms we could say that if the consequence of kufr is a headache, then the consequence of hypocrisy is heartache. Have you noticed how remarkable the Quran is even in the selection of words? A certain number of distinctive traits of the hypocrites have been explained earlier. After this, the Quran has described one such trait of theirs which we can say holds a fundamental position, and this is mentioned in the two verses after this, which are the following. When it is said to them, make not mischief on the earth, they say, why, we only want to make peace. Of a surety, they are the ones who make mischief, but they realize, it, not, that the consequences will surely grip them. 2:11-12. The meaning of these verses is this: that when they are told not to create mischief in the society, country, or world, they say we do not create mischief, we carry out reform. And the Quran alerts people not to fall for this rhetoric of theirs. They are not the ones to put things right, they are of those who spread fasad. 4.27 Islah and fasad. In this verse two words such as fasad and islah appear, which are Quranic terms full of meaning and worthy of attention. The basic meaning of sulhan is that whatever state a certain thing is required to be in, it should be in that state. Its stability, balance, and proportion should endure. Fasadun is its antonym, the meaning of which is that whatever state something should be in, it is not in that state, disorder has been created in its stability, balance, and proportion, indeed in its every characteristic and attribute. We have stated above that the meaning of islah is that whatever state something is meant to be in, it should be in that state. Apparently, it consists of two words, it should. But in the world of thought and perception, This is an extremely difficult conundrum for the solution of which the human intellect has been busily struggling, devoid of the light of Wahi, since the era when human consciousness first opened its eyes, but until now it has not been able to reach any concrete conclusion. 4.28 What should it be? A most difficult conundrum. The problem which is before the sciences is straightforward. In this the question is only, what is it? You may understand it like this, that a veil is drawn over the things of the universe or the forces of nature, and scientific investigations lift this veil and discover the realities lying hidden beneath it. From this it becomes known about everything as to what it is, and what it is like. But the real question in the human world is not that of what it is, the question is, what ought to be? In our daily conversations we say that he did such and such, although he should have done it in this way. That individual can ask the one asserting such a thing, that why should I have done it like this, in the way that you say? And after that, who are you to tell me that I should have done it like this? The detailed account of the story of Adam will appear before us a few verses later. You will see in it that when Allah formed the intention to create an entity on earth possessing choice and intent, man, the Malaika said, will you place therein one who will make mischief therein and shed blood? 2:30. Do you wish to produce such a creation in the world which possesses choice and intent, and its consequences will be that he will create fasad in the world, i.e., he will not let anything remain in the condition in which it should be. And it is obvious that the consequence of this can be nothing other than bloodshed. Allah said to Adam, man, that, behold, you should keep the state of the system of your communal life in the same state that we define through Wahi, do not create any alteration in it, as this will produce disorder in it. But the, rebelling against Wahi, human being said, no, I will make that decision myself about how this should be. It is the tale of this struggle and confrontation about it should be like this, and not like that, which is what is known as the history of mankind. Divine Wahi instructs that the system of your communal life should be like this. The vested interests of man challenge this, and declare that no, it should be like this. This is what is called fasad, this is what is called the clash between good and evil, or the confrontation between Adam and Iblis. Regarding the Quran, at a fundamental level you should also consider it as being the detailed and captivating exposition of the clash between the Sulah and fasad. The striving and endeavor of Muslihin is for this purpose, that the human system should stay in that state in which Allah, i.e., Wahi, wishes to keep it. He has explained the objective before Ma'manin in these comprehensive words, or we can say that he has defined the Ma'manin like this. But you will not, except as Allah wills, 76:30. They wish the same as that which Allah wishes to happen. Have you observed with what beauty and balance the problem of what a moment ought to be is resolved? They are called Muslihin or Salihin on the basis of this very trait of theirs. 4.29 Different aspects of fasad. Contrary to this, those who turn their back on Wahi change the system according to their vested interests. It is because of this that they are declared to be Musaidin. In order to understand this reality, a few certain aspects of human life are presented in which, according to the Quran, instead of Islah, fasad is unleashed. First of all, take the system of the state. The fundamental question in this is, who should possess the final authority to formulate laws? This same authority is called sovereign authority, or ilah as per Quranic terminology. In the discussion which has appeared before us regarding Allah in the first verse of Surah Al-Fatiha, you will see that the Quran has stated that this right belongs only to Allah. He is the one and only ilah, and there is no other ilah. In the outer universe his implemented laws are functioning without any interference or disturbance. Researchers in science acknowledge this fact, that the system of the universe is based on the unity of laws, i.e., only the laws devised by one authority are implemented and functioning in it. It is as a result of this that this incredible and spectacular machinery is busily engaged in functioning with such balance and efficiency. In the words of the Quran, and to Allah does obeisance all that is in the heavens and on earth, whether moving, living, creatures or the Malaika, for none can be transgressors. 1649. Whatever is in the highs and lows of the universe, whether it is, other than human beings, the general creation or the forces of nature, all are subjugated before his laws, and never transgress against him. This is because to him be glory throughout the heavens and the earth, i.e., sovereignty belongs to him and he is exalted in power, full of wisdom. 45:37. In the whole universe, higher authority is only with Allah, and his higher authority is not based on blind force, it is based on wisdom. 4.30 The system of government. After presenting the system of the universe as an example, he informed mankind that the way in which you accept Allah's sovereignty in the outer world, you should also accept him as Allah in the human world in the same way. It is he who is Allah in heaven and Allah on earth, and he is full of wisdom and knowledge. 43:84. Remember, it is he who is Allah in the outer universe, and it is he who should be Allah in the human world as well. In another verse it is stated, if there were, in the heavens and the earth, other gods besides Allah, there would have been confusion in both. But glory to Allah, the Rabb of authority, high is he above what they attribute to him. 21:22. Remember, if you created such a situation in which you accepted some other Allah in the outer universe, and any other Allah in your own world, then its outcome will be fasad. This concept of yours about Allah that his domain of authority is confined to the outer universe, and that in human life men should be autonomous is very wrong, and Allah is far and above this. The central control of the whole of the universe is in his hand. This is because he cannot be questioned for his acts, but they will be questioned for theirs. 21:23. Whoever is holder of authority in the world, he can be questioned as to what authority do you have for that which you say should happen. This authority only belongs to Allah. It is he who has created the universe and mankind, and only he can be the one who can make the decision about what the system of the human world should be, just like the outer universe. For this he has given a very clear and concrete reason also. He has stated that whoever an individual may be, in the laws and decisions which are devised by him there will, of a certainty, be the contamination of his emotions, whether consciously or unconsciously. In this way, Haqq will no longer remain as pure Haqq. And if Haqq had been in accord with their desires, truly the heavens and the earth and all beings therein would have been in chaos and confusion. 23:71. If al-Haqq falls within the control of the emotions of people, then fasad will be unleashed in the heavens and earth and all that is between them. And what the outcome will be from that fasad is obvious. The only way to remain protected from this is that those laws under which human beings are to live their lives should not be corrupted with human desires. The remaining part of the verse is, nay, we have sent them the revelation for their eminence, but they turn away from their own eminence. 23:71. Just behold the flawed vision of human beings. We wish to give them such a system in which the secret of their own eminence and prosperity is implicit, but they shun it. Whatever the form of a government may be, if the authority in it for legislation of laws is in the hands of one man or a group of men, then as a result other human beings will inevitably be compelled to obey according to their will. And it is an extreme humiliation for a human being that he is obliged to obey the will of another human being like himself. As a result, a human being becomes deprived of the eminence of being human. Indeed, the secret of his eminence and dignity lies in this very fact that he should not be the subject of, and dependent on, any other human being. 4.31 Malukiyat, dictatorship. One form of a government whose outcome is fasad is Malukiyat. What happens under Malukiyat? The Quran has noted this in the words of the queen of the nation of Saba. She said, kings, when they enter a country, despoil it, and make the noblest of its people its meanest. Thus do they behave. 27:34. Remember, when kings invade other countries, everything there is overturned, i.e., a situation of fasad emerges in it. First and foremost, they degrade the respectable people of that nation, and this matter is not restricted to some particular king, it is specific to Malukiyat. Whoever the kings may be, and wherever they may, this is what they have been doing to date, and this is what they will continue to do. In another verse Fasad has been defined in the following words, that when he turns his back, his aim everywhere is to spread mischief through the earth and destroy crops and cattle. But Allah loves not mischief. 2:205. When such an individual acquires authority in the land, then he unleashes Fasad in it, he destroys the crops and slaughters the human beings. Contrary to this does not happen in the domain of the rule of Allah. Allah simply does not approve of Fasad. The Quran has presented the pharaohs of Egypt as representatives of Malukiyat. It states about them, all these transgressed beyond bounds in the lands, and heaped therein mischief, upon mischief. 89:11-12. They destroy habitations, like the flood which, by breaking its banks, becomes widespread, and as a consequence Fasad becomes rife in the whole country, nothing remains in its original state. In another verse it is stated, truly Pharaoh elated himself in the land and broke up its people into parties, depressing a small group among them, their sons he slew, but he kept alive their females, for he was indeed a maker of mischief. 28:4. Pharaoh has adopted great rebellion and has created chaos. He divides the people of Bani Israel into different parties, and in this way sometimes he weakens one party and sometime another. He humiliates and degrades those individuals of this nation in whom he observes the manifestation of human potentials, and he promotes those who are devoid of these potentials and capabilities. This is that Fasad of humanity which he makes commonplace throughout the land. 4.32 Democracy. Malukiyat does not mean that the authority to formulate laws is in the hands of one individual alone. Whether it is one individual or a group of individuals, which in the present day is called the Western system of democracy, this will be declared as being Malukiyat according to the Quran. It appears that among the people of Thamud some similar kind of democratic system was in place, so when the messenger Salih stated to Allah that this whole nation is corrupted, what kind of reformation of them can I implement? Allah stated, there were in the city 9, powerful, men of a group, who made mischief in the land, and would not reform. 27:48. You should not worry about the whole nation. The root of Fasad are those 9 people residing in power in the capital city, who keep on creating imbalance in every matter. Their program is that nothing should remain in its original state. If you deal with these 9, then the whole nation will be remedied. The cure for smallpox is not to keep an eye on every lesion, rather its remedy is that whatever harmful germs have entered the bloodstream they should be treated. Once the germs have been destroyed, then the lesions of smallpox will automatically resolve. He has stated about Jannat, that home of the hereafter we shall give to those who intend not high-handedness, Allah, or mischief on earth, and the end is best for the righteous. 28:83. This abode of the life of the hereafter is for those who create neither rebellion nor Fasad in the world. They take care to observe the divine laws, and this Jannat is the outcome of this. Here, another fundamental point is worthy of elucidation. It is stated in this verse that Jannat is for those who do not wish Allah in the world. Allah is commonly translated as becoming more elevated than others, and the meaning taken from this is power and authority, higher status, and prestige. The maslak of monasticism is based on this ideology that power and authority, higher status and prestige, control and supremacy, worldly affairs and rule, is not the way of the servants of Allah. The maslak of the devotees of the court of Allah is that they spend a life of extreme humility and meekness, weakness and helplessness, poverty and scarcity. The ultimate extent of this is that they destroy their self so that not even a vestige of desire for self-manifestation remains within them. In support of this ideology of theirs, these people present these types of Quranic verses and their own fabricated meanings of these. This concept of life is against the Quran and is the product of Ajami intrigues. 4.33 Momineen and authority in the land. In this verse, 28:83, it is stated that muttaqeen and owners of paradise are those who do not want Allah in the world. If its meaning is taken to be that which has been noted above, then what should be said about the divine proclamation in which he has informed the Momineen that, for you must gain mastery if you are Momineen. 3:139. If you are Momineen, then you will possess the greatest Allah. The word Alaon is used for them, which means most high, most superior, overall authority, most elevated. The Quran declares this to be the sign of Momineen. From this the question arises that the Allah which has been forbidden in verse 28:83, what does it mean? This has been clarified by Allah himself when it was stated that, now the Aid behaved arrogantly through the land, against all truth and reason. 41:15. The people of Aid had demonstrated arrogance and haughtiness without al-haqq. At another place he has declared about the kufr, but today shall you be recompensed with a penalty of humiliation, for that you were arrogant on earth without just cause, and that you, ever, transgressed. 46:20, see also, 7:146, 10:23. They will be told that you acquired power and authority in the world by abandoning haqq, as a result of which fasad was unleashed, and its consequence is this azab of humiliation in which you are badly ensnared. See how power in the land devoid of haqq has been declared as being illegitimate and the cause for fasad in these verses. When power and authority are kept within the obedience of the divine laws, then that Allah will be the natural consequence of iman and salih deeds, and will be in accordance with the mashiat of Allah. That system will proclaim and acknowledge this fact that to him belongs sovereignty throughout the heavens and the earth, and he is exalted in power, full of wisdom. 45:37. Sovereignty in the external universe also belongs to Allah, and in human life it is also his. That Allahu Akbar, which is announced in our Muslim society 5 times from a very elevated location in a very loud voice is, or used to be, evidence of this fact that sovereignty, supreme authority, belongs only to Allah. The authority of human beings is conferred by him and is the means by which to accomplish his program. This was the Quranic meaning of the proclamation of Allahu Akbar in the Azan, call to prayer. But today, when Islam has become converted into religion instead of deen, its condition has also become such that only ritual remains as Azan, the spirit of Bilal has vanished. 4.34 Religious priesthood. Malikiyat cannot remain established without the support and favor of the religious priesthood. No human being can agree to willingly bow before any other human being, hence he can never accept the rule of Malikiyat. The religious clergy provides him with this teaching that this individual whom you see enthroned on the chair of authority is Zilal Allah al-Ard, the shadow of Allah on earth, the avatar of Eshvar. Allah has yielded all his authorities to him. Hence, bowing before him is not like bowing before some human being, it is like bowing before Allah himself. The religious clergy keeps breathing this invocation into the ears of the public with such persistence and repetition that they actually begin to visualize Allah in a human form. And after this that tyrannical and rebellious ruler gives a free rein to whatever kind of fasad he wishes. The Quran states that the religious clergy is an equal partner in this propagating of fasad. When Pharaoh saw that he had no answer to the evidence presented by Musa, he called on the religious clergy, and told them to prove to the masses that Pharaoh is the one on haqq, and Musa is the one who wishes to spread fasad in the land. The Quran has announced the outcome of this confrontation as, for Allah prospers not the work of those who make mischief. 10:81. These religious priests wish to maintain the fasad of Pharaoh in place, but such people can never succeed in opposition to haqq. At this stage, we will confine ourselves to this reference only regarding the spreading of fasad by the priesthood, further details will appear later. 4.35 Economic system. In the collective system of nations there is an intrinsic connection between political and economic aspects. If there is disorder in one aspect, then there will essentially be disorder in the other aspect as well. We have written in detail about the economic system of the Quran in relation to verse 2:3. In summary, this system is based on these facts. 1. When Allah created the universe, together with this He also made arrangements for the resources for the life and nourishment of the creation. This is called rizq. 2. Regarding the means of rizq or the means of production, He instructed in clear terms that their distribution should be such that no human being remains without the necessities of life. 3. This is that correct condition in which the means of rizq should remain, and according to which the distribution of rizq should take place. 4. In this, fasad takes the form of some individual, or a group of individuals, taking it into their personal ownership. And then its distribution is such that it should be accumulated beyond their requirements, while others remain deprived of their needs, so that they become the dependents and subjects of those people who have kept back these resources of rizq within their control. The Quran terms this kind of economics as being fasad. In summary it states, "So eat and drink of the sustenance provided by Allah. And do not commit evil or mischief on the earth." 2:60. 4.36 The spreading of fasad by the people of Tamid. As far as taking the means of production into private ownership is concerned, the Quran has specifically presented as an example the account of the people of Tamid from among past nations. In that time the economy was based on agriculture, and it is obvious that for this pastures and sources of water held a fundamental position. The people in authority, leaders of the nation of Tamid, had kept these in their private ownership. The consequence of which was that the gates used to remain closed to the livestock of the people from the lower strata of society, and if these were opened, then it was only according to the desire and vested interests of these leaders of the nation. Saleh was sent to this nation as a messenger, and he informed the leaders of the nation that, "So bring to remembrance the benefits you have received from Allah, and refrain from evil and mischief on the earth." 7:74. These sources of rizq are bestowed by Allah. Always keep this basic fact in mind and do not create fasad in the land. They said, "What is the model of reformation in your mind?" Saleh replied that the matter is clear. "This she-camel of Allah is a sign unto you, so leave her to graze in Allah's earth, and let her come to no harm." 7:73. This earth also belongs to Allah and this livestock too. Let this creation of Allah roam freely on Allah's earth, so that each one of them eats to its fill. Though they committed to this verbally, they were not prepared to adhere to it, the consequence being that the system based on imbalances of rizq destroyed this nation. 4.37 Fasad in commerce. As far as the distribution of resources to meet needs is concerned, this is generally known as commerce. Irregularities in the system of commerce are also termed as fasad by the Quran, and it has presented the nation of Shu'aib as an example of this. In Surah Hud it is stated that Shu'aib was sent as a messenger to his people. He said to them, "To the Madian people, we sent Shu'aib, one of their own brethren. He said, O my people, obey Allah, you have no other God but Him. And give not short measure or weight. I see you in prosperity, but I fear for you the penalty of a day that will compass you all round." 11:84. O people, follow only the divine laws. No one else is the holder of power over you except Him. I see that at this moment in time you are enjoying a prosperous life, but you have created severe economic imbalances in your society. Bring about reform in this. Keep your scales of measurement accurate and give full measure to each and every one. If you do not do this, then I fear that such a destruction will descend upon you which will engulf your whole nation in its folds. In the verse after this, it is reiterated that, "And O my people, give just measure and weight, nor withhold from the people the things that are their due, commit not evil in the land with intent to do mischief." 11:85. As a reminder, just cast another glance at what has been related under verse 2:3, in relation to the mutual connection between Salat and the economic system. You will see there that when Shuaib told them that he desired the establishment of Salat, they agreed to this, thinking that what he meant by this was worship in their own way. They agreed to this, but when the reality of Salat manifested before them, they exclaimed in astonishment, "O Shuaib! What kind of Salat is this of yours which does not even give us permission to spend our wealth and possessions according to our own will? Or that we leave off doing what we like with our possessions and wealth?" 11:87. 4.38 The capitalist system. As has already been noted above, the outcome of fasad in the distribution of risk is that immense wealth becomes accumulated in the hands of certain people. The foundation of the capitalist system is surplus money, i.e., wealth in excess of need. The Quran has presented Qarun in the form of the embodiment of this system and has stated that he had accumulated enormous wealth. Those who invited him towards the correct system told him that we do not say to you, do not keep something for your own needs from it, take what you need for your requirements, and you must take it, but do you good, as Allah has been good to you, and seek not occasions for mischief in the land, for Allah loves not those who do mischief. 28:77. The way in which Allah, by fulfilling your every need, has made your life pleasant, in the same way you should also make the lives of others pleasant by fulfilling their needs, and do not create fasad in society. This conduct is strongly condemned according to the law of requital of Allah. In reply to this, he said the same which every flag-bearer of the capitalist system says. He said, "This has been given to me because of a certain knowledge which I have." 28:78. I have earned this wealth as a result of my skill and cleverness. Hence I can spend it in any way I like. What has Allah got to do with it, and what right does anyone have to question me? On this the Quran has only commented that did he not know how many individuals and nations there were before this who were far superior in wealth and power than this, but despite this enormity of wealth and power, the fasad of their system sank them. Since different aspects of the economic system will appear further on in various other places, therefore at this time these explanations will suffice. 4.39 Sexual perversion. How important it is to keep sexual relationships within the divine limits according to the Quran, can be judged from this fact that among the few crimes for which the Quran itself has defined a punishment, zina is included among these. 24:2. How deep the connection is of sexual chastity with the rise and fall of nations, we will explain this later at its own place. Here, it will be sufficient to state that even the thinkers of the West themselves, after their research over a prolonged period, have arrived at this conclusion that whichever nation turns its back on, or is negligent regarding sexual chastity, it can survive for a maximum of 3 generations. The worst type of sexual perversion is homosexuality. This epidemic was commonplace among the nation to which Lut was sent as a messenger, and it is on this basis that they are called a nation of Musaideen. 29:30. When the basic definition of fasad is that the state in which a certain thing should be, it no longer remains in that state, i.e., the purpose for which it should be used, it is not being used for that purpose, then what fasad can be more egregious than that of homosexuality? 4.40 Unity of mankind. Now we come to that form of fasad which has acquired a global status in the world in the present time. The Quran has stated that mankind was but one nation, but differed, later. 10:19. When human beings commenced their communal life, they were one group, one Jamaat, one nation only, and one ummah only. But after this they created mutual differences, and became divided into family dynasties and tribes, and in this way the unity of mankind was shattered into pieces. The eradication of this self-created division was not within the remit of human intellect, this could only be removed through the guidance of Wahi. Mankind was one single ummah, and Allah sent messengers with glad tidings and warnings, and with them he sent the book in Haqq, to judge between people in matters wherein they differed. 2:213. For this Allah put in place the process of sending messengers who would give glad tidings to people about the pleasant outcomes of the unity of humanity, and who used to warn about the destructive consequences of being divided. For this, they not only gave verbal sermons, they also used to be provided with a code of laws from Allah, according to which they used to adjudicate on disagreements and matters of the people in order to remove divisions. It is clear from this that, according to the Quran, the ultimate aim of heavenly guidance is the unity of mankind, i.e., the whole of mankind as a universal entity. For this such Anbiya used to come who used to make efforts to remove differences and create unity within their area of influence, but when mankind entered that era where global unity became a possibility, then Allah sent his last Nabi with the final code of guidance. You will see in the Quran that this invitation is called Lin-Nas, i.e., an invitation for the whole of mankind. First of all, in place of the concept of a national or sectarian God, the Quran termed him as being the Rabb of mankind, the ruler of mankind, the God, Ilah, of mankind, 114:1-3. In other words, not the Rabb and Ilah of any particular race, tribe, or nation, the Rabb and Ilah of the whole of mankind. Whichever messenger Allah sent, he also stated this about him. We have not sent you but as a universal messenger to mankind, giving them glad tidings, and warning them, but most of mankind understand not. 34:28. O Rasool! We have sent you to the whole of mankind as a giver of glad tidings and a warner, but the human mind steeped in tribalism, nationalism, and racial divisions will not accept this concept quickly, it will only be able to understand this reality gradually. He also clearly stated about the code of laws, the Quran, which he sent via this messenger that these are clear evidences for mankind, 45:20. This is not for any particular race or nation, it is a cause for gaining insight and vision for the whole of humanity. He made it clear about the nation that he formed as a starting point with the aim of unifying humanity, i.e., the Ummah of Muhammad, that you are the best of peoples, Ummahs, formed for the good of the whole of mankind, 3:110. The center of the system which was to become established via the hands of this Ummah was declared to be the Kaaba, and this point was made clear about the Kaaba that the first house appointed for men was that at Bakka, full of blessing and of guidance for all worlds. 3:96. That first house in the world, which was to be kept open for the whole of mankind by taking it above and beyond the divisions of race, tribe, ethnicity, and nationality which damage humanity. That house is the Kaaba, which is located in Mecca, and which is the center of guidance for all nations of the world. The objective from this is an asylum of security for mankind, 5:97. In other words, the center of that system as a result of which all of humanity becomes enabled to stand on its own feet. During the discussion about good and evil we have said that according to the relative standards of profit and loss, every individual or every nation, at the very most, keeps its own interest in mind. But the Quran has declared that according to the scales of the permanent values, remember, while that which is for the good of mankind remains on the earth, 13:17. Only that ideology, that system, that maslak can endure whose aim is not the benefit of any particular individual, group, or nation, but the benefit of the whole of mankind. At this point we have only quoted one or two references in connection with the focus of the Quran, i.e., the unity of mankind, otherwise these explanations are widespread throughout the Quran. These will appear at their respective places. The purpose here was to explain that the goal of this last link in the process of righteousness and guidance is to create a universal brotherhood of mankind, whose foundation is the commonality of Iman, ideology. It is obvious that whichever ideology, concept, belief, or system opposes it, or obstructs its path, it will be declared as the cause for fasad in humanity according to the Quran. This is that very fact which has been expounded in these words, that the people who leave the straight path defined by Allah for other paths are those who sunder what Allah has ordered to be joined, and do mischief on earth. 227. This means that by imposing gulfs of sectarianism, formation of parties, nationalism, among those whom Allah had commanded to be united, they make efforts in this way to prevent fragmented humanity from coming together. These are the very people who foment fasad. Human history is a witness to how Rasulullah and his companions, within his sphere of authority under the guidance of Wahi, bridged these gulfs, and how they brought humanity which was divided into pieces, together, united them not only physically but united their hearts, because true unification is the coming together of hearts. 3:103. They shaped one single ummah by erasing the differentiations of color, race, language, tribe, and nationality, and in this way demonstrated to the world that the concept or ideology of unified mankind put forward by the Quran is not impossible or unable to be implemented. But we hang our heads in shame at the mention of what happened after this. That same ummah, which was raised to create unity in mankind, itself became divided into pieces. Firstly, by converting deen into religion it created various sects within that religion, and after that became divided into different nations on the basis of differentiations in race and nationality. 4.41 Discontent of Western thinkers. The shaping into different nations on the basis of variations in geographical affinity was a curse created by Europe. But as we have stated above, with the descent of the Quran, that era began in which, gradually, man eventually became capable of understanding which path will take him ultimately in which direction. Europe shaped different nationalities on the basis of mutual jealousy and hatred. But when some peace arose in the intensity of passions, or you could say, when the destructive consequences of this ideology of nationalism manifested before them, thinkers from there themselves cried out aloud stating that this nationalism is taking us towards the hell of destruction and ruin. In this connection we can quote the sayings and opinions of many intellectuals and thinkers of Europe, but for the reasons of brevity, we have confined ourselves to only a few here. Aldous Huxley is a renowned thinker from there who has passed away recently. He writes in his book titled, Science, Liberty and Peace. As a result of nationalism, which we have adopted as an idol-worshipping religion, the whole world has been divided into approximately 50 parts, which are called nations of the world. This is the state religion of every one of these nations, i.e., instead of God, worship of the nation which is considered to be the manifestation of higher values. Hence, out of these 50 idols, the worshipper of every idol considers the other 49 idols as mawkish. Nationalism becomes the cause for moral destruction in this way that all the beliefs of universal mankind, one God and human dignity are declared as being false due to it, and in place of these, the beliefs of separatism, egotism, and selfishness take birth, the consequence of which is not only the legitimizing of hatred and war, rather it is the cause. Remember, every nationalism is an idol-worshipping religion. Let us also take a glimpse at the shape of mankind which the thinkers there wished to see, having become discontented with nationalism. A former priest of the Catholic Church, Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, has written in his book titled, Building of the Earth. Now the era of nations has passed by. If we wish to save ourselves from annihilation, then there is only one task needing to be done, and that is to end our antiquated prejudices and to arrange for the reconstruction, going beyond different countries and boundaries, of planet Earth ourselves. By taking man out of his present lowliness, there is only one path by which to take him towards the heights, and that is the invitation towards the path of humanity. Now it is necessary for human consciousness to go beyond the narrow ties of family, nationalism, and race, and take the whole of humanity in its lap. The Quran has stated that man commenced his communal life in the form of one ummah. The solution to his sorrows is only this, that he should once again become a single ummah. In this connection, Hugh Miller, a professor at California University, writes in his book, which he has even titled, The Community of Man. It is the duty of civilization that it should once again revive the brotherhood of mankind which existed at the beginning of human life, but which later became temporarily divided into clans, tribes, and races. Only that can be called civilization which unites people with each other. The next step in the evolution of humanity should be to shape such a society which consists of the whole of mankind. This universal humanity, which these thinkers are imagining, what will be the method for shaping it? Regarding this, Gunnar Myrdal, a famous economist from Sweden writes, "It is a fact that these higher objectives of ours will only be possible to achieve when such a world comes into existence in which there are no countries defined by drawn borders on planet Earth, nor are there self-devised limits by nations themselves. This will be that world in which man will go freely wherever he wishes, live, and be able to achieve joy in every place based on the same conditions. Politically, this will mean one government in the whole world, and democratically, it will carry out its business through the mutual consultation of all people." And after this thinker states that, "In the religious abode of our soul we imagine the existence of some such concept of a beautiful world in which there is complete harmony and unity." Regarding that religion whose concept manifests in the abode of the soul of Professor Myrdal, the internationally renowned American expert on psychology, Erich Fromm, writes that the demands of the time require that in the next few centuries such a religion will materialize, which will align with the evolutionary phases of man. Its greatest trait will be that it will be global and will bring together disintegrated humanity into one unit which will encompass all the knowledge of the East and the West. It will present such a practical code of ethics based on intellect and reasoning which will be in harmony with the scientific disciplines. It will enable man so that he can exist in harmony with the external universe and with his own self. Only that will have the right to become a religion of humanity. If Erich Fromm, or other thinkers sharing his thoughts, had had the Quran in front of them, they would have seen in it that the religion whose manifestation they so desperately desired is already present in the supreme book in the shape of ad-Din. But since ad-Din is not present in a tangible form even among those who claim to have Iman in this book, never mind others, hence they are awaiting its appearance. There is no doubt that under the existing circumstances its manifestation will be according to the demands of the time, and the perception of those possessing vision can see that the wait for this will not be long. In any case, this is that universal Fasad about which the Quran had declared that Fasad has appeared on land and sea because of the actions that the hands of men have earned, 30:41. Because of the systems devised by men themselves, Fasad has been unleashed all around on land and sea. The Muslim Ummah of that era, i.e. Muhammad and his companions, converted this Fasad into Islah, and it is due to this that the Quran has called them Muslihin. It declared that as with Mu'minin and Kufr, Musaidin and Muslihin are the opposite of each other, 2:220. And together with this, it has also declared that the life of these two cannot be alike. Shall we treat those who have Iman and work deeds of righteousness, the same as those who do Fasad on earth? Shall we treat those who are Muttaqi, guard against evil, the same as those who turn aside from what is right? 38:28. It can never happen that we make those people who are models of Iman and righteous deeds equal to those who give a free rein to Fasad, i.e. that the Muttaqin and Fujayar become one and the same. If this became the case, then this will mean that we have created the system of the universe for no purpose, 38:27. The end of Musaidin is that of ruin. Contrary to this, nor would your Rab be the one to destroy communities if its members were likely to mend. 11:117. It can never happen that Allah will destroy that habitation or nation consisting of Muslihin. Doing this would be injustice, and Allah never does injustice. Never shall we suffer the reward of the righteous to perish. 7:170. 4.42 Muslihin. The question which will ultimately come to mind is, who will be these people who will be called Muslihin? How can one become like this? The Quran has answered this in 2 words. Those who hold fast by the book and establish Salat, 7:170. Muslihin are those who remain bonded to the Quran and establish that system in its light which it has termed as being the system of Salat. This system was neither confined to some particular location or era, nor was it impossible to be established. The Quran is Allah's living and eternal book, and it contains the potential that until the day of judgment such a system can be established according to it which can turn the face out of the world into Islam. Now let us examine another mindset of the Musaideen described in the Quran. When it is said to them, have Iman as the others have Iman, they say, shall we have Iman as the fools have Iman? Nay, of a surety they are the fools, but they do not know. 2:13. In relation to the discussion about Iman, it has already been noted, see verse 2:3, that the Quran had demanded all mankind to have Iman. This also included those people who denied even the existence of Allah, and also those who considered other deities, gods, goddesses, or their saintly entities, as possessors of divine attributes also along with Allah. In addition, the people of the book, Jews and Christians, who were not only claimants of having Iman in Allah, they also claimed to have Iman in the constituents of Iman which have been noted by the Quran, Allah, Malaika, the books, the messengers, and the hereafter. The Quran had declared to all of them that you hold Iman in these facts according to your own individual concept, but true Iman is only that which Allah Himself has expounded in the unadulterated Wahi, the Quran. This is why they were told. So if they accept Iman as you accept Iman, they are indeed on the right path. 2:137. If these people accept Iman in the way that you, O Jamaat-e-Mu'minin, have accepted Iman, then their Iman will be acknowledged as being Iman. So much so, that the Quran has even asked those Muslims to accept Iman whose Iman does not meet the criterion of the Quran. But in this verse 2:13, where the hypocrites have been asked to have Iman as other people have accepted Iman, there is a reference to a particular point in this. None of those other individuals or groups who were asked to have Iman had the state that they held one thing in their hearts, while they stated some other thing from their tongues. Their beliefs were wrong beyond doubt, and were based on ignorance, but there was definitely mutual harmony between their hearts and words. Hypocrites have been told that you should give up your two-faced policy adopted for opportunism and vested interests, and bring about mutual harmony between your heart and tongue. What they said in response merits profound attention. They replied that these people are foolish who openly utter on their tongues what is in their hearts. These are not the demands of self-interest and opportunism, this results in great loss. A wise man is one who thinks about his own interest, and opportunism is its fundamental condition. The person who does not even have any concern for his own benefit and loss, he is called insane. Hence, regarding what we are being told, i.e., that we should become like these people, we are not this foolish. 4.43 The meaning of Safaha. Foolishness, stupidity, immaturity in intellect and reasoning, are all included in the meaning of Safaha. For example, in Surah Al-Baqarah where it is directed that in the matters of business deals, these should be put into writing, it is stated that if the lender who had to dictate this document is Safihan, then his guardian should help to dictate it. From this it becomes clear that Safaha means immaturity of the intellect. See also verse 4:5, in which it is stated that you yourself should supervise the matters of those people who are immature in intellect. It is stated in Surah Al-Baqarah, and who turns away from the millet of Ibrahim but such as those who debase their own selves with folly. 2:130. Only he who wishes to remain a fool can stay away from the millet of Ibrahim. It is apparent from this that to keep on being foolish, despite possessing intellect and reasoning, is also included in Safaha. As far as this reply of the hypocrites is concerned, that these people who accept Iman sincerely, they do not even consider their own benefit or loss, we will elucidate this further in verse 2:16. Here, we consider it necessary to draw attention to another reality. It is stated in Surah Hud that when Nuh commenced his invitation, the first to accept it was the category of poor people. After this, when he specifically addressed the leaders of the nation and said, "Look, these people have accepted Iman in Allah. Come and join with them," in reply they stated, "Nor do we see that any follow you but the meanest among us, in judgment immature." 11:27. Those people who have accepted your deen are just those possessing shallow intellect and reasoning. Even the decision of these people cannot be termed as a decision, so what will be achieved by quoting them as an example? We are the possessors of intellect and wisdom. Our decision can be considered to be based on insight and vision, not that of these people who belong to the lower class of our society. The mentality of the wealthy class emerges before us from this. The wealthy class becomes trapped in this false deception that not only do we have abundance of wealth, we also have monopoly over intellect and wisdom. Those who do not possess riches are ignorant and of low intellect, none of their utterances are such that they merit any serious attention. 4.44 Criteria for Fazilat. This statement was made by the leaders of the nation and the wealthy class of the era of Noah, but you will see that even today the mindset of this class remains the same. And this mentality is not confined to some particular era, or to some particular nation. Whenever and wherever wealth is declared to be the criterion for respect and status, this mentality will develop among the wealthy class. The Quran changed these criteria. It declared that from the point of view of birth all human beings deserve respect equally, 17:70. Rank in society should be based on character and conduct, deeds, 46:19. And according to this criterion, the one who is most deserving of elevated status is the one who lives his life according to the laws of Allah more than everyone else, 49:13. Regarding the response of the hypocrites quoted above, the Quran has only commented that what they state about being possessors of intellect and reasoning, this is based on self-deception, they are not among those who have accepted Iman sincerely. If they seek a decision from the realm of knowledge and reasoning, then it will inform them that it is not those people who are ignorant and of low intellect, but they themselves who do not even comprehend this much, what effect a duplicitous policy has on the human self, and what the ultimate end of this is. After this, the Quran has described this behavior of theirs in which it is stated. When they meet those who have Iman, they say, "We have Iman," but when they are alone with their evil ones, they say, "We are really with you, we were only jesting." 2:14. When these people meet with the Jamaat-e-Momineen, they tell them we have accepted Iman, and when they meet their mentors, they say do not think that when we meet those people we have joined with them, not at all, indeed we make fun of them. 4.45 Mockery, extremity of low mentality. The Quran has noted in great detail what kind of reply was received from the opponents to the invitation from the Anbiya. Two elements appear to be common in this opposition, i.e., denial and ridicule. Denial, i.e., declaring an opposing party to be a liar, is related to human intellect, but ridicule is related to feelings and sentiments. You lay some ideology before a person, he presents reasons in opposition to your claim, and in this way tries to prove it as being false. This technique will be intellectual, and you will try to convince him through intellect and reasoning alone. But if the situation becomes such that he runs out of any further arguments and begins to ridicule you and mock every statement, then just think what the effect of this will be on your feelings. And can it ever be expected from such an individual that he will accept a correct and reasonable statement? At some places the Quran has mentioned both denial and ridicule together. For example, for that they falsified the signs of Allah and held them up to ridicule. 30:10. And at some places only ridicule is mentioned, and Rasool is told that this mockery which these opponents employ is nothing new. And never came there a Nabi to them but they mocked him. 43:7. Mocked were messengers before you, but their scoffers were hemmed in by the thing that they mocked. 6:10. The effect of mockery is so severe that on the one hand Allah reassured Rasulullah by stating that whatever is happening with you is nothing strange. The malicious-natured opponents have done the same thing to every proclaimer of haqq, and on the other hand emphasized do not become disheartened as a result of these utterances. Bear, then, with patience, all that they say. 50:39. Do not become distressed by whatever these people are saying, but instead persevere and be steadfast in your resolve. Therefore, patiently persevere, as did all messengers of inflexible purpose, and be in no haste. 46:35. Remember, So persevere with patience, for the promise of Allah is true. 40:77. All the promises which Allah has made with you, these will be fulfilled, because these are based on fact, therefore remain steadfast on your program with determination and perseverance. And have patience with what they say and leave them, move away from them, amicably. 73:10. Do not entangle yourself with them. This is what they want, that your time and energies are wasted in defending against these words of theirs. By saving yourselves from these thorny bushes, forge ahead in a balanced way, dissociate from them, but do this not by descending to their level. Even when you are moving away from them, leave them in an extremely congenial and courteous manner. After this the Quran states, Allah will throw back their mockery on them, and give them rope in their trespasses, tughyan, so they will wander like blind ones. Yamahun, 2:15. This is the literal translation of the words in the verse. We have already discussed in detail under verse 2:7, what the correct interpretation is of such verses in which Allah has related these kinds of matters to himself. Bring it to mind again and the matter will become evident. The meaning of the verse under view will be that these people mock the divine verses and ridicule those who invite towards haqq, and the law of requital of Allah laughs at this kind of insane behavior of theirs. The consequence of this is that despite possessing sight, these people keep on advancing further in the disease of blindness from which they are suffering. It can be expected of those people who dispute some correct matter on the basis of intellect and reasoning that at some point it may become comprehensible to them, and that they may desist. But those people who, by descending to the lowest emotive level, adopt the path of ridiculing logical matters and take extreme pleasure in this, the question of them ceasing at any point does not even arise. As stated in 2:10, the more the hypocrites make use of hypocrisy, the more their ailment multiplies proportionally. In the same way, it is stated here that the degree to which these people increase in mockery, their blindness keeps on increasing proportionally. 4.46 Tughyan, gross transgression. As we proceed, let us consider a fine difference between two roots of the Arabic language. The common meaning of the root nmy is the continuing loss of eyesight, and the root nmhe is used for blindness of vision. This is that condition of a human being in which he does not understand what to do about the matter before him, and because of this he stands confused and bewildered, rooted in a state of extreme anxiety. The word yamahun, root nmhe, has been used in this verse, 2:15. Here the Quran has stated that the consequence of following this path is also that these people keep on plunging deeper in their tughyan. The root of this word, tughyan, is tghy or tghw. The basic meaning of this is to exceed a limit or measurement. As long as water remains within a river it is a river, and its outcome is beneficial, but when by breaking its banks it becomes boundless, then it is called tughyani or a flood which is a cause for destruction. Similarly, if human potentials and abilities are utilized by remaining within the limits defined by Allah, then their outcome is always beneficial, but if they contravene these limits then their result is nothing other than destruction and devastation. This is exactly what the Quran has declared about rebellious and tyrannical people in power. For example, when Musa was assigned the task for a new campaign, it was stated to him, "Go you to Pharaoh, for he has indeed transgressed all bounds." Taga 20:24. The people of Thamud have been mentioned earlier, about how much disorder they had created in the economic system. It is stated about them, "But the Thamud, they were destroyed by a terrible storm of thunder and lightning." 69:5, see also, 91:11. In Sura Al-Araf. To such as Allah rejects from his guidance, there can be no guide, he will leave them in their trespasses, wandering in distraction. 7:186. Those people who abandon Allah's guidance, they cannot then obtain guidance from anywhere else. They are left in their transgression, so that they keep stumbling about like the blind in search of the path. 4.47 Uphold the balance of justice. In Surah Ar-Rahman such a guidance has been provided to mankind in just a few words that as man delves deeper into it, his vision becomes entranced. First, it is stated, "And the firmament has he raised high, and he has set up the balance." 55:7. Reflect on the outer universe, you will observe that this spectacular system is busy functioning with such harmony and precision because there is never any alteration in the balance which has been created in it. And after this it is stated, "In order that you may not transgress, do, balance." 55:8. This model of the harmonious organization in the outer universe is presented before you so that you also maintain your society within the obedience of the divine limits, and in this way do not allow distortion to emerge in its scales of justice. So establish weight with justice and fall not short in the balance. 55:9. Establish this balance through justice and fairness, and in this way keep both sides of the scale level, do not attempt to tilt it. It is he who has spread out the earth for his creatures. 55:10. The foremost condition for upholding this balance is that the means of production which we have bestowed, they are for the benefit of all creation, keep these open for the good of the whole of creation. It is clear what is meant from these explanations when the Quran states that those people who create fasad in a society are left bewildered and lost in their tughyan. After describing the signs and traits of the hypocrites, a summary of this is presented in the next verse as follows. They are those who have bartered guidance for error, but their traffic is profitless, and they have lost true direction. 2:16. These are the people who have purchased misguidance by selling guidance, and this trade of theirs did not deliver any profit to them because the correct path of life itself vanished from their sight. What has been noted in this verse is a matter which we describe on a daily basis and keep saying to each other, but there are great realities and profound concepts hidden within it. 4.48 The issue of good and evil. While examining verse 2:11, in connection with Islah and Fasad, reformation and disorder, we had stated that the issue of what is very straightforward. But the question of what ought to be is such that the human intellect has remained extremely inquisitive and anxious from the earliest era of its consciousness till the present day for the solution of this, but it has not been able to reach any definitive and satisfying conclusion. In the terminology of philosophy, this issue is called the conundrum of good and evil, for which the terms khair, good, and shar, evil, have appeared in the Arabic language and the Quran. Commonly used words for these are benefit and loss. Every individual in the world wishes to enact such deeds which are profitable to him, and refrains from those affairs which are of loss to him. But here again that same question arises, that what is it exactly that is called benefit and what is loss? In other words, having turned full circle, human thought again halts at this initial point, that what is the satisfactory solution to what ought to be? Human beings have established their own individual standards of profit and loss, e.g. if a shopkeeper sells something for more than the cost price by 2 rupees, it will be said that he has profited in this transaction. Here, the standard for measuring profit and loss is his purchase price. This kind of profit and loss is called relative. It is possible that such business circumstances may become created in which the shopkeeper may even feel an advantage or benefit in selling that thing at less than his cost price. From this it is evident that these kinds of relative standards, or scales for profit and loss, keep changing, but human thought is continuing to be adrift in such a maze of profit and loss where these are not relative, but are absolute, i.e. absolute good and absolute evil, that which is khair, profitable, in every condition, or is shar, evil, in every condition. As has already been stated, human thought so far remains unsuccessful in reaching this solution. Allama Iqbal states about modern man, entangled in such a way within the convolutions and complexities of his intellect, that till now he has not been able to make any decision about his benefit or loss. The Quran declares that it is simply not possible for human intellect that it can ascertain absolute good and absolute evil, only the Wahi of Allah can do this. In fact, the Quran states that the condition of a man making decisions according to his own intellect and emotions is that but it is possible that you dislike a thing which is good for you, and that you love a thing which is bad for you. But Allah knows, and you know not. 2:216. At times he dislikes such things which are in fact khair, i.e. beneficial, and likes those things and holds them dear, which are harmful to him. And after this it is stated you cannot yourself determine what is in reality beneficial for you, and what thing is harmful, only Allah knows this. In another verse it is stated, the supplication that man should make for good, he makes for evil, for man is given to haste. 17:11. The condition of man is that in place of care, he calls out constantly to shar, because he happens to be very hasty. He only sees those benefits which are immediately before him and his vision does not extend into the future. 4.49 The true criterion for profit and loss. Why can man not discover the standard for care and shar himself? The reason for this is that he is simply incapable of dissociating his decisions from the emotions of his self-interest, whether these are individual or collective. Therefore the standard devised or defined by him will be relative, it cannot be absolute. By sidestepping the philosophical argument of khair and shar, we will state in brief and commonly understood terms that Allah has established the permanent values and immutable principles and has passed these on to mankind through wahi. Every one of those actions which is according to these principles and values will be khair or beneficial, that which is contrary to them will be shar or harmful. For example, an individual accumulates thousands of rupees by telling a little lie or by deceiving, while another individual, by remaining true to the values of honesty and trustworthiness, suffers a loss in his business, as commonly happens in an unjust society. According to the self-devised criteria of men, the former has enacted a very profitable transaction and the latter has suffered a great loss. This decision is made according to the self-devised standards of men. Contrary to this, the decision of the wahi of Allah is that since this action of the first individual is against the permanent values, therefore it is shar, i.e. harmful, and the action of the second individual is khair due to its being in accordance with the permanent values of Allah, i.e. it is beneficial. The question is not about the material benefit or loss in declaring that one is shar or the other is khair, the question is of the benefit or loss which the self of these individuals incurred. From this the decision about virtue and evil, good and bad, reward and punishment takes place. Those deeds are virtuous, good and righteous through which his self is developed and strengthened, evil, bad and punishable deeds are those because of which the development of his self halts and becomes weakened. It is another matter that with the strengthening of the self, material benefits also become acquired, which is a characteristic of the Islamic system. We have seen that the hypocrites had said that those people who have iman in these truths with honesty and integrity and continue to act on these values, they are foolish. Wise are those who weigh up in which matter their profit and loss lies, without caring for these values, despite still declaring their acceptance verbally. This is, in effect, what occurs in an unjust society, and this is what is done. Even today, if an individual states that I wish to do commerce with complete honesty, every business mind will laugh at him, and will say that this person is an absolute fool, he knows nothing about business conventions, he will suffer loss and be ruined. 4.50 They used to call Rasool possessed. In contrast to them, the Mu'mineen remain resolute on the divine values under all circumstances and follow the immutable principles defined by him, even if they have to suffer unending hardships, many privations, and have to face all kinds of dangers. When this is the conduct of ordinary Mu'mineen, just think what the conduct of their Imam, Rasulullah himself, was in this respect. Rejecting all worldly temptations, bearing all kinds of hardships with great patience, and willingly embracing all kinds of losses, he used to remain steadfast on his program. To those who used the criterion of worldly profit and loss, if this path of his was not insanity, then what else could it have been called? This is why they used to state. And they say, surely he is possessed. 68:51. This was not something that happened to one messenger alone, they used to say the same thing about every messenger. Similarly, no messenger came to the peoples before them, but they said, of him, in like manner, a sorcerer, or one possessed. 51:52. Though this was that insanity on which thousands of devotions can be sacrificed. In the world market these are the only two different criteria for profit and loss in buying and selling which the Quran has explained in the verse under consideration. 2:16, and about which it is stated that their commerce provided no benefit to them whatsoever even though they considered that this commerce of theirs had been very profitable according to their own standard. Examples of this buying and selling have been referred to in many different places in the Quran. We are quoting a few of them here. But in order to reach true understanding, it is essential that you bear in mind the definition of profit and loss which we have explained earlier, i.e. the correct criterion for profit or loss is the benefit or detriment to the human self. 4.51 The human self. It has already been explained that according to Kafir, human life is only the life of this world. Hence profit in this is that from which worldly benefits are gained, and loss is that from which these benefits are not gained. The concept of the human self does not even exist among them, therefore the question of profit or loss simply cannot arise before them. As has been noted in the explanation of Surah Al-Fatiha, according to the Quranic ideology of life, the life of a human being consists of his body and his self. The connection of the body is with the physical or material world, thus for the nourishment and strengthening of the physical body all those benefits are also necessary through which this aim is achieved. When the Quranic system is established then man obtains both these benefits in it. But the Quran states that if, in the confrontation between Haqq and Batil, such a situation arises where there is a clash or collision between worldly benefit and the benefit of the human self, then at that juncture the benefit of the human self should be preferred over worldly benefit. This is what is called preferring the hereafter over worldly benefit in Quranic terminology. When deen adopts the shape of religion, then neither worldly benefits are achieved in it, nor benefits for the human self. This is what the Quran portrays as loss in both this life and the hereafter, and declares it to be an avowed loss. Following this Quranic concept of profit and loss, let us bring before us the examples presented by the Quran. In Surah As-Saf it is stated, O you who have Iman! Shall I lead you to a commerce that will save you from a grievous penalty? 61:10. O Jamaat-e-Mu'minin! Should we signpost you to such a commerce in which there is never any possibility of loss, and in this way protect you from that painful chastisement which is the consequence of loss in commerce? That commerce is this: that you have Iman in Allah and His Messenger, and that you strive, your utmost, in the cause of Allah, with your possessions and your persons, that will be best for you, if you but knew. 61:11. Accept Iman in Allah and His Rasool, i.e. hold total conviction in the truth and supremacy of that system of Allah which is being established through the hands of His Rasool. Strive with all your might for its establishment and to strengthen it. Also, utilize your wealth and possessions for it, and if the need arises, even lay down your lives. If you reflect using your knowledge and insight, you will be able to see how profitable this commerce is. He will provide you with protection from your errors, and admit you to gardens beneath which rivers flow, and to beautiful mansions in gardens of eternity. That is indeed the supreme achievement. 61:12. This system will make provision for such resources for you as a result of which you will be saved from these devastations which are always pursuing you. And He will bestow on you such a paradisiacal life in whose freshness and pleasantness there will never be any decline, metaphorically, homes for living pure lives within perennial orchards. This is a very great success and accomplishment for the one who becomes blessed with it. And another favor will He bestow, which you do love, help from Allah and a speedy victory. So give the glad tidings to the Mu'mineen. 61:13. Over and above this, another thing which you greatly like, i.e. your authority will also be established not only in Arabia but outside of it in other places. 33:27. For this you will need the full support and aid of the law of Allah, as a result of which the paths of success will keep opening up one after the other before you. O Rasool! Announce to your companions, Jamaat-e-Momineen, this life-giving tiding, this glad tiding that as a result of this both your world and the hereafter will become adorned, and you will also achieve worldly benefits and benefits related to yourself too. This is that very trade regarding which it is declared in another verse. Hope for a commerce that will never fail. 35:29. This is that commerce in which there can never be any loss. 4.52 Agreement between Momineen and Allah. Commerce is another name for buying and selling. What the form is of the selling and buying in relation to the Momineen has been elucidated in Surah At-Tawbah. Allah has purchased of the Momineen their persons and their goods, for theirs in return is the garden of paradise, 9:111. For this commerce there is an agreement between Allah and the Momineen, according to which the Momineen sell their life and possessions into the hand of Allah, and in return, Allah provides a guarantee of a life of Jannat. Regarding this business transaction, it is stated, "Then rejoice in the bargain which you have concluded, that is indeed the achievement supreme." 9:111. O Jamaat-e-Momineen! Celebrate this bargain of yours which you have made with Allah, as this is the biggest achievement of life. An individual enters the domain of Islam by acknowledging the constituents of Iman, but he becomes a Momin according to this pact with Allah to which he has to remain committed all his life. It is according to this agreement that the Quran states about the life of the Jamaat-e-Momineen. Be sure we shall test you with something of fear and hunger, some loss in goods or lives or the fruits of your toil, but give glad tidings to those who patiently persevere, who say, when afflicted with calamity, to Allah we belong, and to Him is our return. 2:155-156. In this there will sometimes be a risk of war and death and other dangers. At times there will be scarcity of food and the means of sustenance. At times loss of possessions and life. At times farmlands and orchards will be destroyed. All this will happen. But ultimately glad tidings of victory and success will be for those who remain firm-footed in this striving, and in this horde of hurdles and difficulties, their sights will not waver even slightly from this focal point that the purpose of our life is the establishment of the system of Allah. We have dedicated our possessions and life for this, let the difficulties come, our every step will be for this very aim. 9:59. This alone is our destination and objective, and in every circumstance it is this that we will aim for. 4.52.1 Sacrificing life in the path of Allah. And after this it is stated, they are those on whom descend blessings from Allah and rahmat, and they are the ones that receive guidance. 2:157, see also, 33:43, 33:56. This is that revolutionary Jamaat which is deserving of manifold appreciation and approval from their Rabb. Allah and His Malaika shower blossoms of rahmat on them, send darud and salam on them. For them are abundances of the means of nourishment and showers of respect and eminence, and that they will reach their intended destination is a certainty. These are those fortunate ones about whom it is stated, and say not of those who are slain in the way of Allah, they are dead. Nay, they are living, though you perceive it not. 2:154. The one who lays down his life in this striving does not die, he becomes embraced with eternal life. His body surely dies, but his self moves forward. What his life will be like after death, you cannot encompass this at the existing level of your consciousness. At another place it is said, think not of those who are slain in the path of Allah as dead. Nay, they live, finding their sustenance in the presence of their Rabb. 3:169. Do not even let the thought cross your mind that they have died, they are alive in the presence of Allah, and they are also being bestowed with the means of nourishment from Him. They rejoice in the bounty provided by Allah, and with regard to those left behind, who have not yet joined them, in their bliss, they, martyrs, glory in the fact that on them is no fear, nor have they cause to grieve. 3:170. Seeing their lofty ranks, with which they are graciously bestowed by Allah, they are very pleased, and their pleasure becomes multiplied as a result of this awareness that, due to their sacrifice, such a society has become established for those companions of theirs who are present in the world in which they are protected from all kinds of fear and grief. They glory in the grace and the bounty from Allah, and in the fact that Allah suffers not the reward of the mu'mineen to be lost, in the least. 3:171. They are overjoyed with these prosperities and conveniences which they achieve from the blessings of Allah. Also because of the fact that they witnessed with their own eyes that Allah does not waste the endeavor of any possessor of Iman, He gives full recompense for it. These are the people for whom there is nothing but profit in this bargain. Whatever they sell, it is connected to this world, which is in any case finite. But whatever they get in return for it is eternal, in a perpetual state of dynamic continuity. These are those people who, even at extremely testing times of clashes, proclaim joyously in a euphoric state, that those laying down life have acquired Jannat of the hereafter, and in return for their spilled blood, their companions have achieved establishment in the land, i.e., it materialized in the form of authority and government in this world. 24:55. In this way the members of this Jamaat attained both strengthening of the self and worldly benefits. Just reflect how profitable is this covenant which is made with Allah. This is Islam, this is ad-Din. In opposition to this are those people about whom it is stated. These are the people who buy the life of this world at the price of the hereafter. Their penalty shall not be lightened, nor shall they be helped. 2:86. They sell their hereafter for the sake of the benefits of the life of this world, i.e., they gain worldly benefits by trampling on the permanent values. These are the ones who purchase death by selling life, and in this way remain in a state of permanent azab, and they have no such helper who can release them from this agony. At another place it is stated, as for those who sell the covenant which they make with Allah and their own plighted word for a small price, they shall have no portion in the hereafter. 3:77. Regarding those people who sell their covenant in which they have bound themselves with Allah, and the oaths which they have taken to adhere to this covenant in exchange for the benefits of worldly life, the consequence of this is that their self is annihilated and they have no share in the life of the hereafter. 4.53. Those dealing in religious commerce. Priesthood is foremost among those people who indulge in this kind of commerce. These are the ones who are addressed when it is stated, "Nor sell my signs for a small price, and fear me, and me alone." 241. Do not sell our verses for a paltry price, be fearful of the consequences of your transaction. Their business is such that, who write the book with their own hands, and then say, "This is from Allah," to traffic with it for a miserable price. Woe to them for what their hands do write, and for the gain they make thereby. 2:79. They write fatwas from their own side, and then sell these into the hands of people for a paltry price, saying that this is a commandment of Allah, this is divine shariat. And Allah states about them that whatever they write and give to people is destructive, and what they earn in this way is also destructive. In these verses, and many other similar verses, Allah has instructed, "Do not sell our verses for a miserly price." This does not mean do not accept a small price for these, instead obtain a greater amount. This is wrong. 4.54 Meaning of a paltry price. At a number of places the Quran informs us that whatever level of worldly benefits are gained in lieu of the hereafter, they will be minuscule and that gain is very meager. For example, it is stated in Surah An-Nisa, "Say, short is the enjoyment of this world, the hereafter is the best for those who do right." 4:77. Say to them that no matter how great the accoutrements of this world may be, in comparison with the hereafter they are nevertheless trivial, because true profit is profit of the hereafter, and only he acquires it who observes the divine values. This has been elaborated even further in Surah At-Tawbah where it is stated, "O you who claim to have Iman! What is the matter with you, that when you are asked to go forth in the cause of Allah, you cling heavily to the earth? Do you prefer the life of this world to the hereafter? But little is the comfort of this life, as compared with the hereafter. 938. This is because the world and its accoutrements, even to the extent of man's physical life, is in any case temporary. But the provision of your Rabb is better and more enduring. 20:131. And whatever means of sustenance is obtained according to the divine values, it is both beneficial and long-lasting. And it is obvious that the one who prefers finitude over eternal life ultimately remains in loss, since real loss is that of the human self. Truly, those in loss are those who lose their own self. 39:15. Now we move on to the next verse of Surah Al-Baqarah. Their similitude is that of a man who kindled a fire. When it is lighted all around him, Allah took away their light and left them in utter darkness, so they could not see. 2:17. In verse 2:16, 2 points have been described as outcomes. Firstly, that those people, whether they are kuffar or hypocrites, who wish to journey on the path of life without accepting iman in the truths of Wahi, they cannot discover the correct path to reach the intended destination of humanity. Secondly, that those people who gain worldly benefits by sidestepping the permanent values of Allah, this commerce of theirs ultimately proves to be damaging. After expounding these points ideologically, the Quran has explained them using tangible similes according to its distinctive style. These examples have been noted in verses 2:17-20. It is this explanation of them that now comes before us. First, let us discuss the question of the correct path in order to reach the intended destination. As has already been noted, further details of which will be covered under the topic of the story of Adam, life has reached the human form by passing through evolutionary valleys. Whatever man has received in this automatically from nature are those same basic instincts which have also been bestowed on other animals. When a human child arrives in the world, like every newborn animal, it knows instinctively where its source of nourishment lies, and how to obtain benefit from it, i.e., sucking milk at a mother's breasts. There is only one issue facing animals, and that is the fulfillment of physical needs, and for this the guidance of the instincts is sufficient. This is why they have no need for any research, nor any need for inquiry. If man's issue had been confined to just this, then he also would not have needed to make any endeavors. But his issue is not confined to this. In front of him there are many other scores of important challenges of life, communal and societal problems, political and economic, national and international issues, and extending beyond the physical world there are the numerous conflicts of his inner life, the dissonances between his consciousness and subconsciousness, his multiple psychological conundrums, the development of his self and the question of the future, etc., etc. Discovering the solution for these problems is not within the realm of instinctual guidance. 4.55 Empirical technique of the intellect. Apart from instinct, man has also been endowed with the ability of intellect and reasoning. The question is whether man is capable of discovering the solutions to these issues, without the guidance of Wahi, based on the intellectual method. We have already covered some aspects regarding this, in connection with the analysis of verse 2:3. But since the Quran has used an example here to explain the matter, it is appropriate that it should be further elaborated. This is not a repetition, but an elucidation. The method of the intellect for discovering solutions to the problems of life is through trial and error. When it makes a start in determining the solution to some problem, there is nothing before it, neither a previous model, nor some line drawn on a map. It proposes a path itself and adopts this, and begins to follow it. Thousands of types of dangers appear en route, but it counters these dangers laboring under this conviction that the path it has adopted is the correct one. It is obvious that man has to bear the burden of a variety of hardships in this. Rivers of blood flow in this, millions of lives perish, but on the basis of that judgment of the intellect which has been referred to above, he continues to press forward until he reaches a point where he finds out that the direction which he had adopted was erroneous. At that juncture his intellect proposes another direction, and in this way presents a new hypothesis. The history of the human intellect is a telling narrative of these experiments. These endeavors of the intellect can be understood through an example. The problem under consideration was that what is the status of different individuals in human society? 4.56 The problem of slavery. The historical beginning of the direction which was selected by the intellect for the solution of this problem arises from the father of thinkers, the Greek philosopher Plato. He said that human beings can be divided into three categories according to birth. The first is that of holders of reason and insight and those who solve issues, whom he calls guardians. These people are appointed at the highest levels of society. The second category is that of soldiers, and the third category is that of the public, which is based on farmers, laborers, and slaves. According to him, this division of human beings is by birth, and is natural. In other words, he termed slavery as being a necessity of nature. In order to justify this, he used to present this deceptive logic that, just as the feet have the lowest status in the human body and their task is to carry the weight of the whole body, this is the same position of slaves in a society. Conferring a better status than this on them is like that of putting a straight shoe on a twisted foot. The degree of pain instead of comfort felt by the walker as a result of this is obvious. Among the Greek philosophers, after Plato his disciple Aristotle is seen to be at the top of the list. He also used to declare slavery as being a necessity of nature. It is said that he had 19 slaves and he used to present 19 reasons in support and justification of slavery. This matter is from nearly 2,500 years in the past. In this very long period of 2,500 years, the tales of the efforts which have been made by human intellect to ascertain the mutual status of mankind, and the sufferings which have been faced, will be found written in blood on the pages of history. After these demoralizing and patience-testing experiments, man reached this conclusion after centuries that slavery is an unnatural concept and a curse for mankind and there is no justification for retaining it. As a consequence, some years earlier, the UNO declared in its manifesto that this was against fundamental human rights and it was ended in various countries. But if we look at it closely, even from this only one savage and crude form of slavery can be eradicated. Its soul, like numerous other evil souls, still continues to roam around in the human world and appears in different garbs and forms. For example, the political slavery of individuals and nations, economic slavery due to need, intellectual slavery due to a wrong educational system, psychological slavery based on propaganda of lies, etc., etc. The Quran has described this experimental method of the human intellect by the example of a wayfarer losing his way, standing alone in a vast and desolate desert. It is night time and very dark, there is no lamp there to light his way, nor any idea of the direction, nor any bell from a caravan, nor any sign of the destination, so much so, that even the light of the stars is completely draped over by the thick veils of the dark clouds. That wayfarer is standing at that point confused and bewildered. He only has a box of matchsticks with him. He lights a matchstick, and light spreads out in a narrow circle. He hardly takes 2 steps in this when darkness again engulfs the path. Thus he remains stranded there, and moves forward in this way, floundering about in this vast and desolate desert. Every time the light helps them, they walk therein, and when the darkness grows on them, they stand still. 2:20. When the path is momentarily lit, 2 steps are taken, then he is rooted to the spot again in the darkness. In contrast to this is the wayfarer whose journey's start is on that very path which divine Wahi has defined, which is brightly lit from here to there. That traveler keeps treading this route with this firm conviction and contentment that his every step is taking him ever closer to his objective, and there is no doubt or suspicion in his reaching there. 4.57 The Quran and slavery. Just take the example of the slavery itself. After centuries of perilous endeavors, human intellect has now been able to reach this point that all human beings are born as holders of equal rights. Allah's Wahi proclaimed right from the first day that we have honored the children of Adam, 17:70. All human beings from birth are deserving of equal respect and dignity. Humanity means deserving of respect as a human being, and it is not possible that a man, to whom is given the book and wisdom and messengerhood, should say to people, "Be you my followers," rather than of Allah's. On the contrary, he would say, "Be you followers of him who is truly the cherisher of all." 3:79. No human being possesses this right that he should say to other human beings, "Become my subjects," not Allah's, even if he has the status of a lawmaker or ruler, so much so, that even if he possesses Nabuwwat, messengerhood, no human being possesses the right to say this. Together with this, he also decreed that no man or group of men has the right to govern over other human beings. This right also belongs only to Allah. Nor does anyone have the right or authority to deprive anyone of the means of sustenance. With these decrees he put an end to every form of slavery. It should be made clear that the instructions and commands which have been given in the Quran about slaves and concubines are about those slaves and concubines who were present in the Arabian society at the time of the revelation of the Quran. Making them free instantaneously was neither advisable nor possible. For this the Quran provided such instructions, as a result of which they either gradually kept becoming free, or became members of free families. In this way, the Quran solved the problem of slaves of that time and closed the door of slavery forevermore. Details of these matters will be available at their place later. 4.58 Importance of intellect. This is the difference between the method of reasoning of the intellect and the guidance of Wahi. But this does not mean that in the proposed process of Wahi, there is no status or place for intellect. The Quran has placed great importance on human intellect and reasoning. According to the Quran, the mutual relationship between intellect and Wahi is like that of light from the sun and the human eye. Just as the human eye cannot be of any use without light from the sun, similarly if man shuts his eyes, then sunlight also becomes useless for him. It is this very Quranic truth that the renowned Western thinker Locke has expressed in the following words: "He that takes away reason to make way for revelation, puts out the light of both." On this enlightened path of life which Wahi has proposed, crossroads appear at every turn where signposts are erected for paths leading to various directions. The task of the intellect is to read these signposts and select the correct path according to them. Or you could understand it as the following: that in a children's book of arithmetic, different sums are presented, which they solve according to mathematical rules using intellect and reasoning. Then they compare their solution with the answer which is given at the end of the book. If their solution is in accordance with the answer, the child becomes contented that he has solved the sum correctly. Just think that if a child is in possession of such a book in which the section containing sums is present but the section containing answers is missing, then you can imagine the uncertainty he will suffer from after solving a sum regarding whether it is right or wrong. The task of the human intellect is that it should keep harmonizing its solution with the answer of Wahi, and by declaring that which is in harmony with it as being correct, move ahead. Plato himself has illustrated this method in these words: "These thinkers will make something, then will end it. They will keep doing this until they bring human pathways in harmony with the divine paths to the best of their ability." 4.59 Nur, light, and Zulmate, darknesses. The Quran has everywhere described Wahi using the metaphor of Nur, and where that Nur is absent, it has termed this as being Zulmate. It has stated that regarding the Mu'mineen, Allah will, from the depths of darkness, He will lead them forth into light. 2:257. Contrary to this, rebellious elements take the kufr from the direction of light into darkness. 2:257. It is based on this that He has declared the Quran as being Nur, a book which we have revealed unto you, in order that you might lead mankind out of the depths of darkness into light. 14:1. See also 57:9. In using the word Zulmate for darkness, two important points have been brought before us. The meaning of Zulmat is the absence of light, i.e., light not being present at a location which should have remained illuminated. Have you observed what a great reality is hidden in this one basic meaning? The things of the universe and animals did not require external light, their guidance is provided by their instinct which exists within them from birth. Hence, it is not stated about them that they are in Zulmat, although they do not have the light of the Wahi sent down from Allah. The place for the Wahi sent down by Allah is the human world, because such light has not been kept within a human being. If society deprives itself of the light of Wahi, then it will be said about it that where there should have been light, there is none. The word Zulmat has been used for this situation. Secondly, that the Quran has used the word Nur in the singular form everywhere, but Zulmat is used in the plural form, i.e., it has called it Zulmate. This profound but extremely delicate difference has been noted earlier. Al-Haq is always one, but Batil appears before us by ever changing into 1,000 garbs. The correct answer is one and only one, but there can be thousands of wrong answers. This is why the Quran has used the word Nur for Haq or the correct answer, and Zulmate for Batil or wrong answers. Along with this, there is also the reality that when light arrives, no matter how many layers of darkness there may be, they vanish. The light of Wahi erases the sum total of the flawed outlook or deceptions created by human thoughts and emotions. And say, truth, al-haq, has arrived, and falsehood perished, for falsehood is, by its nature, bound to perish. 17:81. Now we come to the next verse. The deaf, Sumun, the dumb, Bukmun, and the blind, Umyun, they will not return to the path. 2:18. Let us first look at these words. Sumun, root SDMM, is that individual whose ears become closed, i.e., deaf. Also, that person who does not listen to anyone and keeps insisting on his own opinion, who does not make use of intellect and reasoning. It is stated in Surah Yunus. Among them are some who pretend to listen to you, but can you make the deaf to hear, even though they are without understanding? 10:42. There are some among them who appear to be always listening to you but their thoughts are elsewhere. O Rasool! Can you make such people hear who, by shutting the doors of intellect and reasoning, place plugs in their ears? The word Bukmun is used for a person who is dumb, or for such an individual who cannot explain a matter clearly, also indicating those people who do not make use of intellect and reasoning. It is stated in Surah Anfal. For the worst of beasts in the sight of Allah are the deaf and the dumb, those who do not use their intellect. 8:22. Umyun, root nmy. Though this word is generally used for the one who is blind, it has many meanings: to become misguided, to insist on batil, to keep on pressing forward blindly without using intellect and reasoning, to become equivocal and doubting in some matter. All these meanings are included in it. It is stated in Surah Al-An'am that Rasulullah was informed that you should proclaim that I but follow what is revealed to me. Say, can the blind be held equal to the seeing? Will you then reflect not? 6:50. Here, too, people not employing their intellect and reasoning are called blind. Therefore by Sumun, Bukmun, Umyun is not meant those people who are physically deaf, dumb, or blind. These mean those people who do not make use of intellect and reasoning. Hence, within Surah Al-Baqarah itself, it is stated in another verse. Deaf, dumb, and blind, they are void of understanding. 2:171. So when it is stated in the verse under consideration that when those people, by losing the lamp of Wahi, stumble around in their self-created darknesses, they are deaf, dumb, and blind, then this means that they have hearts wherewith they understand not, eyes wherewith they see not, ears wherewith they hear not. 7:179. This means that they simply do not employ the ability to reason and comprehend which was bestowed by Allah, and the consequence of this is they will not return from the wrong to the right path. 2:18. 4.60 The meaning of la yarji'un, not returning. The word rajan also contains many meanings, and its erroneous meaning, which is commonly prevalent among us, is the cause for creating misguidedness. But at this point we do not wish to delve into its details, the place for that will come later. It is sufficient to understand here that its meaning is to turn around, return, turn back, to approach, and it has appeared in this verse in these meanings. When Rasulullah presented his invitation, his addressees were two kinds of people: 1, the people of the book, who at some point were unhacked but later diverted from this path. They were asked to return to this same al-haq which was given to you by your Anbiya but which you let go to waste. When they used to spurn this, they would be asked, why do you not return towards haqq? But the second category was that group towards whom haqq had come for the first time. When they would not come towards haqq, then it was said about them that they do not even approach haqq, they do not pay any attention to it whatsoever. For them, too, the word la yarji'un is also used. Overall, this should be understood as different people having adopted different wrong paths. An individual standing at a crossroads, rather, a four-way intersection, is calling out, saying that the paths on which you are treading, these cannot take you to the correct destination, come back to this spot, I will inform you which is the correct path. If they do not retrace their steps, then the term la yarji'un will be used for them too. In any case, the purpose of this is that people are treading on the wrong paths. The Quran is calling out to them over and over to come here, and I will guide you to the correct path. But they do not consider its invitation and bidding as being worthy of their attention, and keep on heedlessly pressing forward like the blind, deaf, and dumb. 2:18. The next verse to be examined is, or, another similitude, is that of a rain-laden cloud from the sky, in it are zones of darkness, and thunder, and lightning. They press their fingers in their ears to keep out the stunning thunderclap, the while they are in terror of death. But Allah is ever surrounding those who are kafirin. 2:19. In the introduction to verse 2:17, 2 points were noted. Now let us discuss the second point of these, i.e., this point that these people who gain material benefits of worldly life at the price of the divine permanent values think in themselves that we have been in great profit, but in reality this business of theirs is not profitable, rather it is detrimental. In reality only that business is profitable which is carried out within the remit of the divine values. By business is not meant merely economic transactions, it means the question of profit and loss within every sphere of life. A discussion about profit and loss, or good and evil, has already been carried out, but for an explanation of the example that the Quran refers to here, further elaboration of this issue is required. 4.61 Further elucidation of good and evil. First understand this, that in the physical universe there is nothing intrinsically good or evil. It is its use which makes it good or evil, or you could say that Allah has created everything for good only, it is man who makes it evil by using it wrongly. Water supports life, the whole of life is dependent on it, it bestows fresh life to dead land, vigorous crops grow due to it, verdant and lush fruit-bearing orchards emerge from it. So much so, that water plays a very fundamental role in life and all that is needed for it as the means of nourishment and strength for it. But the same water man stays alive by drinking, he can also die by drowning in it. That water which flows by remaining within the confines of the banks of rivers, canals, streams, and waterways, becomes the cause for the emergence of new life. But when that same water, by bursting its banks, assumes the shape of a flood, it becomes the cause for widespread devastation. Poison, whose name is synonymous with death, can also be employed at times to save the lives of those dying, if it is used correctly in the form of treatment. This is the same condition of everything in the physical universe and of every force of nature. Allah has created every one of these for care and barakat, good and benefit. It is their incorrect use as a result of which they become the cause for evil. In other words, good and evil is concealed within everything. The problem to be solved by man is to determine what is the technique through which these can be made a cause for good and benefit, while remaining protected from their harmful aspect, to extract constructive use from them, instead of destructiveness. This is the reason that the Quran has taught the supplication for protection from the evil that exists within things. From the mischief of created things. 113:2. In other words, this desire that whatever Allah has created, it does not become evil, it should remain good. If some things had been good and some others bad, then a supplication to remain protected from the evil things would have been taught. Scientific disciplines certainly inform us how beneficial results can be obtained from the things of the universe and how these can become evil. But they cannot tell us how to make man amenable to this, that he uses these for good and does not use these for evil. This is outside the domain of function of these sciences. 4.62 Doctrine of Utilitarianism. Moving beyond the physical or external world, let us look at the human social domain, and see whether human intellect has been able to devise such a system here which can be profitable for the whole of mankind, i.e., its outcome is care for everyone. Using its own empirical technique, the human intellect has also stumbled around extensively in search of this but has not been able to succeed in this yet. The best doctrine it has been able to discover to date is known by the term utilitarianism. According to this doctrine, that act is care as a result of which the maximum number of people gain the maximum benefit, i.e., the greatest good of the greatest number. From the point of view of this doctrine, the aim is the benefit of the majority. The question is this: are the ones who will be left out not human beings? On what basis will they be deprived of this benefit? They have no answer to this objection. In the political world it is this very doctrine which personifies democracy. The foundation of democracy is also based on the rule of majority. Here that same question arises again: what crime has the minority committed that not only are they deprived of the right of government, rather they are handed over into the subjugation of other human beings like themselves, who have acquired a majority by some method or another? The human intellect has not yet been able to devise any such system in which this aspect of shar does not exist. In its every system, whether it is political or economic, care and shar exist as an inseparable mixture. In the verse being discussed, the Quran has elucidated this very fact via a tangible simile. Let us first examine these words. Sayyub, root is SDWB. A cloud producing rain, but that rain which comes at the precise time, and is in the correct place. Ra'ad, the thunder claps from clouds. Bark, the flashing of lightning. Sawa'iq, plural of siqa, crackling of lightning. Kataf, 220, to take by snatching. With regard to the geographical conditions in which the Arabs lived and the climatic environment of their lives, for them rain was indeed a blessing. They would thirst for each and every drop of rain and would view even a speck of cloud expectantly. Now just consider that if such a cloud ever appeared there which was laden with water, and burst into a downpour at the precise time and desired place, how this event would have been a source of great joy for them. But in these kinds of clouds, darkness, thunder, and the flash and crackle of lightning would also have been encased in them. They generally used to live in tents under the open sky, hence they did not possess those resources by which they could remain protected from the destructions of lightning. Consequently, when these types of clouds would appear, while they would be euphoric at the expectation of the life-giving aspects of the rain, they would also be fearful of lightning strikes. In the words of the Quran, it is he who shows you lightning, by way both of fear and of hope, and he who raises up the clouds, heavy with rain. 13:12, see also, 30:24. They were frightened that the flash of lightning does not snatch away their sight, 24:43. And that the lightning does not descend upon them in the form of death. It should be made clear that this does not mean that Allah only made bark, ra'ad, and sika for destructive purposes. The purpose of their creation is also only for care. Therefore it is stated in Sura Ar-Ra'ad, Ra'ad also remains busy in making the program of Allah deserving of hamd and appreciation, 13:13. We cannot say that science has yet been able to discover with certainty what kinds of constructive aspects are contained within these forces of nature which are seen thundering, flashing, and shuddering in the skies. As far as those destructions are concerned which materialize as a result of lightning strikes, the Quran has stated briefly. And this lightning comes down according to the law of Mashiat of Allah, universal law, 13:13. Hence, if knowledge of this law is discovered, then arrangements can be made for protection from its destructive effects, just as in tall buildings a rod of metal, earthing system, is installed, due to which the destructive electrical wave becomes dormant. In any event, what the Quran wishes to state here is that both constructive and destructive aspects are concealed in these forces of nature. If these are employed according to the law of nature, then the outcome is solely care, and if this is not done, then their aspect of shar will overpower. Those who do not have knowledge of these laws devise their own various ways to remain protected. When lightning crackles, by putting their fingers in their ears they become contented that we have secured ourselves from its destructiveness. They do not even understand that even if they have protected their power of hearing in this way, there is also the possibility that a flash of lightning may snatch away their sight. 220. Now let us take this example further, and moving away from the external universe, come to human communal life. This world also has two aspects. One aspect is that in which, by harnessing the forces of nature, nations obtain useful work from them. We will explain further on in what different ways the Quran has made this fact clear that, by conquering the forces of nature, what kinds of uses man can obtain from them, provided he acquires knowledge of those laws according to which these forces remain in operation. Whichever nation harnesses these forces in this way, it progresses in the material world. The example of the European nations is in front of us. Those same events of nature which cause destructions in backward, illiterate, nations, Western nations have made such arrangements so that they may benefit from the profitable aspects of those forces while remaining protected from their devastations. 4.63 Employing the forces of nature. This is that aspect of the social system of man where he encounters the controlled and uncontrolled forces of nature. The other aspect of this is that where man has to deal with man. Because this system is devised by the intellect and reasoning, what people do is that in their own sphere they utilize these forces for beneficial purposes, but on the basis of these same forces they acquire supremacy and control over other nations. By virtue of this, they apparently gain great power. The degree to which they acquire power and supremacy over weaker nations, they fall into this false delusion to a similar degree that this system of theirs has become strong to such an extent that destruction can never visit them. But the Quran declares that this belief of theirs is predicated on flawed vision and self-deception. The strength of the system relating to human social life is not dependent only on the acquisition of material forces, its deeper connection is also with how those are employed. If these means and resources are utilized for the benefit and welfare of the whole of mankind, then that system becomes strengthened. If these are utilized for their own benefit and for the destruction of others, then this system, no matter how strong it may appear to be, ultimately becomes destroyed. This destruction does not descend all of a sudden, it approaches gradually, and like a creeping fire it appears from those directions which they can never suspect or imagine. 4.64 Destruction of Nations. In Sura Al-Araf it is stated, "Those who reject our signs, we shall gradually visit with punishment, in ways they perceive not." 7:182. With regard to those people who falsify our laws, we lead them gradually, stage by stage, towards hell through those paths about which they have no knowledge and insight. Never mind having insight. And there will appear to them from Allah that which they had not taken into account. 39:47. In Surah An-Nahl it is stated, "Those before them did also plot, but Allah took their structures from their foundations, and the roof fell down on them from above, and the punishment seized them from directions they did not perceive." 16:26. O Rasool! Not only the nation you are addressing, but nations before them also indulged in such intrigues, but these conspiracies were never successful. Rather, they led them unwittingly towards destructions, to the extent that the foundations of their structures were uprooted. Their roofs fell upon them in such a way that they were crushed under their weight, and all this took place in such an imperceptible way that their intellect and consciousness could not even fathom how this devastation appeared, and from where. The Quran has stated above that this destruction comes gradually. When this happens, then instead of these nations reflecting on what fundamental weakness is there in our system as a result of which it is heading towards destructions, they think that these cracks have appeared for no reason and can be filled. But what happens is that they address one crack or bend, and two further cracks appear on the other side. According to the metaphor quoted by the Quran, in order to remain protected from the crackling of lightning they plug their ears with their fingers, and its flash snatches away their sight. The renowned scholar and philosopher of social history, Robert Briffault, writes in his famous book titled, The Making of Humanity, that no system of human organization that is false in its very principle, in its very foundation, can save itself by any amount of cleverness and efficiency in the means by which that falsehood is carried out and maintained, by any amount of superficial adjustment and tinkering. It is doomed root and branch as long as the root remains what it is. The Roman Empire was, as we have seen, a device for the enrichment of a small class of people by the exploitation of mankind. That business enterprise was carried out with all the honesty, all the fairness and justice compatible with its very nature, and with admirable judgment and ability. But all those virtues could not save the fundamental falsehood, the fundamental wrong from its consequences. Their effects worked inexorably. He goes on to say, what really happens is that the phase of society, the order of things in which disregard of right is habitual and accepted, inevitably deteriorates and perishes. However much the individual may temporarily benefit by inequity, the social organism of which he is a part, and the very class which enjoys the fruits of that inequity, suffer inevitable deterioration through its operation. They are unadapted to the facts of their environment. The wages of sin is death by the inevitable operation of natural selection. In the verse being discussed, the Quran has explained this very reality using the simile quoted, and has summarized it in a few words by stating that Allah is encompassing kafirin from all directions, 2:19. The law of requital of Allah is surrounding those who deny truth and haqq and those who transgress, from all directions. They cannot escape from this and go anywhere. Hence, the patching and mending by their sharp intellect cannot save them from annihilation. And from here we move on to the next verse in which it is stated, the usual translation is as follows. The lightning all but snatches away their sight, every time the light helps them, they walk therein, and when the darkness grows on them, they stand still, and if Allah willed, He could take away their faculty of hearing and seeing, for Allah has power over all things. 2:20. Most of the explanation of this verse has been covered under the interpretation of the previous verse, though a few points are such that they require further elaboration. If Allah had wished, He could have taken away the physical means of acquiring knowledge of these people, i.e., hearing, sight, etc. But He did not do this. Doing this was against His law of Mashi'at. The question is, what is this law of Mashi'at of His? And why does He not do this? 4.65 Physical powers are not removed. When evils become rampant in a society, tyrannical forces of subjugation, exploitation, injustice and corruption become unbridled and life becomes intolerable for the weak and helpless at the hands of powerful people. Then in the minds of shallow-thinking people this thought repeatedly arises, why does Allah not paralyze those arms which are used to break the bones of the weak and helpless? Why does Allah not turn that hand into stone, which is raised to pierce the chest of a victim with a dagger, so that it cannot even move? Why is it that those who indulge in corruption keep enjoying countless prosperities with each passing day? Their wealth, power, and affluence keep multiplying. They continue to gain all kinds of material benefits. If Allah closed off their paths to acquiring wealth and power, then they will simply not remain capable of unleashing cruelty and tyranny on the poor. This is what Allah should do. Why does He does not do it? In reply, Allah states that doing this is against our law of Mashi'at. He states that we have implemented physical laws in the physical world, laws of nature, and have told human beings that they can harness the forces of nature by acquiring knowledge of these laws. As a result of this, they will gain all kinds of material benefit. In this there is no question of kafir and momin, as has already been noted. Whoever makes an effort according to these laws, he will gain material benefit. The question of the differentiation between kufr and iman comes after this, when the problem of the use of these benefits and powers gained through physical laws is confronted. Just observe in what an eloquent and appealing style this fact is explained in Sura Bani Israel. The Quran states, "If any should desire the immediate benefits of life, we hasten from it what we will, to whom we intend, as per the divine laws. Then have we made for them hell, they will burn therein, disgraced and banished." 17:18. Whoever wishes to achieve the material benefits of the world, we keep conferring these benefits on him according to his efforts and endeavors. When he uses these benefits wrongly, this is called kufr, then its outcome is destruction. 4.65.1 Material benefits can be acquired by anyone. Contrary to this it is stated, "But whoever desires things of the hereafter, and strives therefore with all due striving, and has iman, they are the ones whose striving is acceptable by Allah." 17:19. The individual who acquires material benefits according to the laws of nature, and then employs these according to the values defined by us, his effort bears full fruition. As far as physical benefits are concerned, the Quran states, "Of the bounties of your Rabb, we bestow freely on all, these as well as those, the bounties of your Rabb are not closed, to anyone." 17:20. Whether kafir or momin, we keep taking both forward according to their efforts and endeavors, both have our support and favor. We never do this, that we allow one party to advance, and place a barrier before the other so that it cannot go beyond it. Doing this is against our law of mashiat. Material benefits have been bestowed on all human beings from us as a bounty, and such a situation should never arise in a bounty that it is given to one while another is deprived of it. The means of sustenance have been provided to the whole of mankind as a bounty, and this arena is open for all equally. To whatever extent someone makes an effort, he will reap the fruit of this accordingly. At another place it is stated, "Whoever desires the life of this world and its adornments, we shall fully repay them for their deeds therein, without diminution." 11:15, see also, 42:20. This is that law of mashiat of Allah according to which He has stated that we do not do this, that we suspend the physical potentials of those who trample on ethical values. Their ruin, despite these abilities, will come about because they transgressed ethical values. This will be that ruin from which their physical potentials and material forces will not be able to save them. These are the forces about which it is stated, "But of no profit to them were their faculties of hearing, sight, and heart and intellect when they went on rejecting the signs of Allah, and they were, completely, encircled by that which they used to mock at." 46:26. The Quran states that, "Truly, it is not their eyes that are blind, but their hearts which are within their breasts." 22:46. This is the reply to this objection of these people, that why does Allah not disable the hands of the unjust, why He does not turn their arms into stone? It is stated that, "And if Allah had willed, He could have taken away their faculty of hearing and seeing." 2:20. To do this was not at all difficult for Allah, but He does not do this, as it is against His law of mashiat. No change will you find in the practice, approved, of Allah. 33:62. Have you noticed how the Quran has clarified this point? But the commonplace wrong translation of the next part of verse 220 creates one such conundrum, as a result of which not only does this explanation of the Quran become meaningless, instead a contradiction is also created by it which is against the fundamental claim of the Quran. That part is, "For Allah has power over all things." 220. These words appear in the Quran frequently, and their meaning is taken to be that Allah is all-powerful, He can do whatever He wishes, and does so. He is not bound by any procedure and law, every matter is dependent on His will, he can do things in whatever way he wants, etc., etc. Have you seen how, according to this interpretation, that whole structure which is raised on the foundations of the Quranic concept of rule of law, comes crashing down? In any case, it is essential that we understand this fully. I have explained these matters in great detail in my book, Kitab al-Taqdir. It will suffice to provide a summary of it here. 4.66 Domain of Amr. Allah was Allah even at that time when this universe had not yet come into existence, and He will remain Allah even at that time when this arrangement will no longer remain. Hence, the domain of Allah is not only this material universe, it lies beyond this as well. The Quran has termed the material universe as the domain of Khalq, creation, and the world beyond as the domain of Amr, and stated, remember, both the domains of Amr and Khalq are His worlds. 754. We can understand nothing regarding the domain of Amr, all we can conceive of is that Allah's intention is in operation there, or we can say that it is related to the program of Allah's Department of Planning. This is where the decisions are made about what the universe of Khalq should be like. This is where the creative program of Allah is organized and laws for this are devised. Regarding this, it is the decree of Allah that, for Allah carries out all that He intends and plans. 22:14. At another place it is stated, for your Rabb is the, sure, accomplisher of what He plans. 11:107. In Surah Al-Ma'idah it is stated, for Allah does command according to His will and plan. 5:1, see also, 22:18. He also states, He cannot be questioned for His acts, but they will be questioned, for theirs. 21:23. He cannot be questioned as to why He did it like this, other than Allah, everyone else can be questioned. This is the domain of Allah's Amr. When, according to His Amr, this material universe came into existence, then here His Amr adopted another position. It is stated, and the command of Allah is a decree determined, Maqdar. 33:38. The root of this word Maqdar is Qdr, the basic meaning of which is estimation or a scale. The meaning of Qadar tu Shay'a is, I measured that thing, I estimated it. The meaning of Qadar tu Alayhi Thaba is, I made clothes according to the measurements of this individual. Hence, the basic meanings of taqdir are for something to become fitted according to an estimation or scale of it. And Maqdarun is that scale, model, or pattern according to which something is made. 4.67 The meaning of Qadr. In order to make something according to a specific scale and estimate it is necessary to have full control over this thing, hence, Qadar tu Allah Shay'a means, I possess this power that I could make this thing according to my pattern. According to these meanings of the root, Qdr, the meaning of this verse, 33:38, will be that Allah's Amr transformed into the mold of the pattern, it became bound by the scales established by Allah. In another verse it is stated, verily, for all things has Allah appointed a due proportion. 65:3. These are those scales set up by Allah in the physical world which are called the laws of nature. For example, water is a supporter of life up to an extent, but when it exceeds this limit, it becomes the cause for the death of a human being, as in death due to drowning. This will be called the scale of water. This is what is known as the law of nature. The word law does not appear in the Quran. In its place various forms of this root, Qdr, have appeared. Regarding these scales, Allah has made it clear that, for we do determine, according to need, for we are the best to determine, things. 77:23. We have determined these scales or laws, we determine the best scales. Hence, the meaning of Qadirun becomes the one who determines scales, or the one determining the laws for the material universe. This act of determining scales is called the taqdir of Allah. For example, it is stated in Surah Yasin, and the sun runs its course for a period determined for it, that is the decree, taqdir, of the exalted in might, the all-knowing. 36-38. This is that law, Taqdeer, established by that Allah who possesses knowledge of everything. Though these laws of nature were determined by Allah in the domain of Amr, human beings have been given the ability that they can obtain knowledge about them. It is on this basis that these have been termed as those scales which can be discovered. 1521. Conceptually, these scales of Allah are called the words of Allah, Kalimatullah, and this is clarified by stating, Allah's words, Kalimat, do not change. 10:64. And when these same laws of His take practical shape, then these are termed as Sunnat Allah. For this, too, it is clarified that you will not find any change in the way, Sunnat, of Allah. 33:62. Have you seen how in this new stage in the creative program of Allah what a great revolution has emerged, i.e. this revolution that Amr of Allah which is not bound by any code and procedure, having reached the domain of Khalq, became Maqdir, bound by laws. This means that instead of being omnipotent, it transformed into a law, and then such a law that there can never be any change in it. In other words, Allah has imposed a constraint on Himself by this. With the concept of a constraint on Allah we are overcome in a shudder of fear, but when Allah Himself has stated that we will never bring about a change in these laws, then fear should not affect us. If an omnipotent being imposes a constraint on himself with his full authority and intent, then his doing this does not produce any flaw in his being all-powerful. Only that constraint is objectionable which is imposed on someone by another individual. The restriction which is imposed on one's own self is called being principled, which is a highly admirable action. When an individual says that I have declared this as my duty that I will not allow any beggar to leave empty-handed from my door, then this self-imposed constraint of his is not a shortcoming, but an extremely admirable decision and a commendable step. 4.68 Allah has imposed constraints on Himself. Allah has also used some words in the Quran regarding imposing constraints upon Himself which have also been used at other places with respect to human beings. For example, He has stated, He has inscribed for Himself, the rule of Rahmath, 6:12, see also, 6:54. And at another place it is stated for human beings. Fasting is prescribed to you, 2:183. This means that this duty has been prescribed by Allah on human beings, and in 6:12, Allah has prescribed this duty, of Rahmath, on Himself. In Surah Yunus it is stated, thus is it fitting on our part that we should deliver the Mu'mineen. 10:103. In another verse it is stated, and it was due from us to help the Mu'mineen. 30:47. In many parts of the Quran the words Allah's promise appear, i.e. Allah has made this promise, and regarding these promises it is stated, never does Allah depart from His promise. 30:6. 4.68.1 These constraints are called laws of Allah. This means that He has made the fulfillment of His promise mandatory upon Himself. From these, and other verses like these, this reality becomes clear that despite being omnipotent, Allah has imposed some constraints on Himself which He never goes against. Whatever the words for them may be, in our own language we will only say this, that these are the laws of Allah which He never breaks. For example, He has decreed, Allah has promised, to those among you who have Iman and work righteous deeds, that He will, of a surety, grant them in the land, inheritance, of power. 24:55. Allah has made this promise to those people that the ones who accept Iman in His truths and carry out righteous deeds, He will surely confer on them authority and governance in the world. This means that this is an immutable law of Allah, that the outcome of Iman and righteous deeds will be power in the land. From these explanations it is evident that when Allah declared that we have constrained our Amr, choice and intent, according to scales, and that we will never go against these, this does not in any way diminish His being omnipotent. Hence when it will be said that, for Allah has power over all things. 2:20. This will mean that Allah has determined laws for everything, and through these same laws he maintains such control over them that he does not allow them to contravene these laws. After these explanations we now return to the verse under consideration, 2:20, in which he has stated, "If we had wished, we could have suspended the physical abilities of these people, but despite having the power to do this, we do not do so because we have established laws for all matters." 2:20. And our law is also this, that decisions regarding the physical affairs of human beings should be decided according to the physical laws of nature. According to this law, we do not make the tongue of a liar dumb, we do not make the eyes blind of the one looking at someone with an evil eye. Lies and the deceits of the eyes surely produce their effects, but for this our other laws are established. With this verse, the discussion of these three categories ends, i.e., the discussion about mutakin, kufr, and hypocrites. After this a new chapter begins. 4.69 Summary of Chapter 4, verses 2:8, 20. 1. The two categories which have been noted in the previous chapters are either those who openly accept the truth, or those who openly reject it. The third category is of those people who, though they say with their tongues that we have conviction in the truths of the divine code, and that we have iman in the law of requital and the life of the hereafter, in reality, however, they do not have iman in them. These people either follow their emotions superficially, or are opportunists or chancers, thus their companionship can never be trusted. 2. These people use double dealing against the divine system and the Jamaat-e-Momineen who are trying to establish it, and in their own minds believe that they are deceiving them, despite the fact that if they used their intellect and awareness, this reality would have become apparent to them that they are indeed keeping their own selves in deception. 3. The consequence of this kind of emotive and duplicitous life is that their hearts and minds lose a healthy balance, and it is Allah's law that the extent to which an unbalanced mind remains engaged in such activities, its balance will keep on distorting to the same extent. In order to follow through on this path, they have to lie at every step and have to acquire a new face at every turn. Just imagine how much turmoil their life remains in because of this. For when they are told not to destroy the system of society by creating imbalances, they retort with great audacity, "When do we ever disturb society? We are the reformers." Remember, these are the very people who are the creators of imbalances and devastations. This is because, how can those who do not have harmony in their inner lives create harmoniousness within society? How strange it is that these people do not even have any realization how this contradiction between their word and deed exposes their essence and reality. 5. When it is said to them that you should also accept and adopt this code of life just like the members of the Jamaat-e-Momineen accept it as truth and act according to it, they state in reply, but they are foolish and not even aware of their own benefit and loss, and discarding those profits available without effort are chasing behind being principled. What? Should we also become foolish like them? Remember, it is these people themselves who are foolish and ignorant about profit and loss, who do not even understand such a basic matter that to abandon permanent benefit for the sake of a temporary advantage cannot be declared as good commerce. 6. The state of their two-faced life is such that when they meet up with those people who have adopted the divine code, they declare to them that just like you we also have iman in its truth, but when they meet up alone with the leaders of their own party, they say to them, inwardly we are always with you, we only meet these people outwardly, and by making fools of them, we ridicule them. 7. Alas! If they could only have been able to judge this, that how can they ridicule others by making them fools? According to the law of requital of Allah, in the domain of truth, they are ridiculing themselves. Becoming drunk with the intoxication of their own power and authority, these people step on the wrong path and then wander about confounded and distracted, and with every advancing step they become more distant from the destination. 8. These people consider themselves to be very clever, that they are acquiring an illegitimate advantage by deceiving others, and are pleased that our commerce is very profitable. Even though the truth is that there is none as ignorant as them, because in place of the correct path of life they have purchased the wrong path. This commerce of theirs can never be profitable, because by treading on the wrong path they can never reach the intended destination of life. 9. The simile of people following these transitory and immediate benefits of life is like that of a person who lights a fire in the dark of night in a jungle to determine his direction, because of which his surrounding environment becomes illuminated, but immediately afterwards this fire becomes extinguished, and in this way Allah's law leaves him astray in darknesses in such a way that he can see nothing. In other words, the attractions of immediate benefits do cause the eyes to light up once, but after this such a darkness descends that in this not only do the eyes become ineffective, all paths of rational thought become obscured, and man becomes deaf, dumb, and blind, i.e., devoid of intellect and reasoning, 8:22, and by becoming overwhelmed with emotions, deprived of the ability to differentiate between profit and loss, 16:76. And no further possibility of returning to the correct path remains for him. 10. Or the example of their social and economic system, which is established on the basis of their self-created laws, is like cloud bringing timely rain, but together with this intense darkness, thunder, and also the crackling of lightning, i.e., the means of destruction combined with the means of sustenance, 30:24. These people wish to take advantage of the benefits of the rain but save themselves from the destructions of thunder and lightning. They think that the way to deal with this is to insert their fingers into their ears so that these dreadful sounds can neither be heard, nor do they enter the jaws of death. These naive people are not even aware that the destructions of lightning do not just enter via the ears, rather they are spread out all over the environment. The law of requital of Allah surrounds from all directions that nation which denies realities, 7:182, 29:54, 79:36, 82:16. 11. It is possible that these people insert their fingers into their ears because of fear of thunderclaps, and in this way consider in their own minds to be protected from danger, but the flash of lightning takes away their sight, i.e., the abundance of the means of sustenance mesmerizes their sight in such a way that their eyes are no longer capable of detecting places of danger, or they make an arrangement to forestall one danger and another danger arises unexpectedly from another direction and destroys them, 7:182. In summary, consider it like this, that our law is such that whichever nation harnesses the forces of nature, it becomes a beneficiary of these, 17:18-21. But these profits of those who only have an eye on the benefits of physical life are temporary, while for those who keep the higher values before them, they are durable and permanent, 2:201, 11:15, 42:20. You can view the state of the former like an individual standing in a desert on a dark and overcast night having lost his direction. When the path becomes momentarily visible from a flash of lightning, he can take a few steps on it, but when darkness descends again, he remains stranded. If we had wished, we could have taken away the means of acquiring knowledge, hearing and sight, of these people, and in this way they would simply not have been given the opportunity to benefit from natural means of nourishment, but we did not do this. We have fixed scales and measurements for all matters and have defined laws and codes. Nothing in the universe can go outside of the scope of these scales, we have complete control over them.